I'm waiting on. Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
They got handled those and-
Okay, I'd like to call the Town of Rochester Planning Board regular meeting for April 8th to order. If you would please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which it stands, one nation, God, visible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Do a roll call here quickly. Chair Grasso is here. Member Jones? Here. Member Jarvis? Here. Member Graham? Here. Member Nelson? Here. Anne Marie Maloney is absent. Zorian is absent. And Helena is also absent tonight. Short crew. Hopefully we'll meet Cindy's request to get out of here early. I like that. Also, Secretary Jasmine is with us. Dave Gordon is with us. And Dave Church is absent. Greg Bolner will be here a little later. Okay. There's that. Look at trivia. I have bland trivia, but I have trivia. I'm getting thin on my trivia. During the 1680s and 90s, the first European settlers in the area negotiated with the local Lenape Indians to acquire acreage from their farmsteads. While the settlers assumed that their deeds signed with the Native Americans established permanent ownership of the land, the Native American concept was that the current owner of the land was a temporary steward of user of the space. Once the Crown of England granted the trustees ownership of the land, the Native Americans were displaced for years, with bloodshed to follow. So, crummy trivia, I'm sorry, we'll have better for next month because we'll have the granary trivia. Okay, members of the public, just for your ability, also make you aware, the public hearing for the granary has been canceled for this evening. So if you are here for the granary public hearing, that is not happening tonight. We will have a new date for you proposed for the next month. Okay, first item on the agenda is Planning Board 2024-09, a lot line improvement for Hershkowitz and Hellerin. Representative is Bill Eggers. This is at 14 and 15 Bakertown Road. Board, the applicant has went through the ZBA process to transition the two current lots into two newly shaped lots, but they would be one of them would be undersized. Applicant Bill, if you guys would give us a quick 30-second on this.
Yeah.
You got it?
So applicants own properties on both sides of Bakertown Road.
Yep.
And they have the house on the south side of the road. And having, since they own land on the other side of the road, they have built a garage across the road. Because their existing house parcel is very narrow. The house takes up almost the whole road frontage. Really wasn't room to put a garage on that side. They got a garage on the other side. They also have since built an additional house on the north side parcel. At this point, they would like to do a on the opposite of our typical natural subdivision. We decide to divide something by the road, put something together on the other side of the road, put a portion of a little piece on the other side of the road with the house. So the house with the garage.
So
that's what's proposed.
Bill, you're going to take the 14 and the 15, and that's going to be now one lot, and then the new lot that has the flag lot in the back will now be the new 15. Is that correct? Or whatever they assign?
Whatever they call it, yeah.
Man, that is unconventional, huh?
Yeah, being that, and it's not unusual. We've certainly seen cases where we come in with a property that goes right across the road. People own all the way across the road, so it's not unusual to own land across the road.
Right.
It is a little.
So the only concerns that come to my mind, which I think the board would be okay with this because the zoning board is fine and I am too, is no future subdivision on that new lot because now you're manufacturing undersized lot number one.
Right.
So no natural subdivision ability. Yeah. And the flag lot, obviously you'll need to get a highway 911 number from the highway department.
Yeah. The only other thing I could see, just thinking down the road, I doubt that would ever happen. This is what happened there. But if somebody decided, well, we want to go back, we want to keep this everything on one side of the road here. I don't want to preclude the potential of, is it no natural subdivision in the future?
Right.
could they do a lot line improvement?
Yes.
And undo
Right,
this?
so the note would just say no future natural subdivision ability, but future subdivision would be allowed, granted they meet the zoning of that
Right.
current district.
Yeah.
So we'd have to come up with a map note for that.
Yeah.
Which is unconventional because it's
Yeah.
backwards.
Yeah.
We'll need a right to farm. I don't know if we have that on there, but we'll need a right to farm.
So the gravel driveways, whose property is that going over, and do you need a road,
It's in the folder.
a driveway, maintenance agreement?
Yeah, that's in there.
Yep. You have that one?
CBA approved that already.
The maintenance agreement. Okay.
So I don't have any other questions, board, anybody, before I go here? Okay, motion from somebody?
I'll make a motion to approve the lot line.
Okay.
As proposed, with the assumption that,
Yep.
the business is out.
So the natural, Bill, we'll talk next this week about the natural subdivision and we should need a right to farm. Okay, second from Zach, all in favor? Aye, any opposed, any abstentions? It's that quick, 6 minutes. Alrighty, thanks, guys, see you later.
All right.
Appreciate it. Just a reminder for those who just walked in, there is no public hearing tonight for the granary project. We're here for the granary. It is not happening tonight. So, okay, moving on. Patty? 2024-02, a minor subdivision on 345 Towpath Road. This is for Barry Turner and the array of others. Patty, why don't you just give us a quick second on where we're at?
Absolutely. So we are proposing a 3-lot subdivision with a lot line revision of 155 acres of land located on the northerly side and southerly side of Towpath Road. We have one pre-existing lot with a residential house on it that is 4.78 acres in size. We are adding 2 parcels to it to increase the lot to 5.85 acres so that it will have a buffer around its existing septic system and it will own its own driveway. The remaining lands have 2 dwelling units on it. We are proposing to separate the 2 dwelling units onto their own lots. One lot will be 5.11 acres. The other lot will be 7.51 acres. And the remaining 137 acres, which again extends on both sides of Towpath Road, is in the 480A forestry program and will remain as a vacant lot. The map change that we made from the last meeting, and I do apologize that you're just seeing it today for the first time, but when I was reviewing it with the client, I asked how they currently were accessing the lot number 4, the forestry lands, to be able to maintain their forestry maintenance. And right now they were using the driveway that's going by the house on lot number 1. So I made a suggestion that we put in place a 50-foot wide right of way that will follow the existing driveway for lot number 3 and then head northwesterly into lot number 4.
Makes total sense.
It made better access to that lot. I think it would be very difficult to sell lot 1, knowing that there's a potential that there would be trucks going back and forth. So that's the change that we made.
So thank you for that. We have a public hearing, which we'll talk about now. I have some people signed up. I'll go through the rules of our public hearing for you guys if you're interested in tonight's presentation. As we open the public hearing, there's a couple of items for the public to be aware of and recognize. The public hearing is for the public to express their knowledge and or input about this specific project. The board will grant public comment to community members who have signed up on the clipboard at the table located at the entrance. Community members who have signed up will be granted between 3 and 5 minutes per person to speak. This opportunity to speak is not a question and answer from the board or the applicant, yet the opportunity to speak about the application and the knowledge of the property. Comments should be related towards the health, safety, and welfare of the town of Rochester and this project in discussion. With that being said, I have Kelly Gersick from 168 Rock Hill. Any comments?
So the lots are on the towpath side,
Mhm.
and the natural forestry was on the,
Is behind it.
so they're not signed in now, but our property abuts that.
Okay.
There's a buffer. I'm just curious as to how,
Sure.
will they be asking for access on any of our properties? to
Great question.
Rock Hill?
Yeah, so this application has nothing to do with your property. You were notified because you are within a 500-foot buffer. The application is to basically take the existing large parcel and cut it up. And the property that is in the back of where the houses are obviously on the towpath side, but the property behind it is in the forestry program of the state. So they will not have any, you will see no change from your side, if that makes sense.
Downhill from Rock Hill Road
Mhm.
won't be seen. That's-
Correct.
That's the forestry.
That's correct. So I
The
have,
houses that, all they're doing is taking the houses that are already there and putting them on their own separate lots.
Yeah, I should have stated in my presentation that there is no proposed development
Right.
or new building as part of this subdivision
In fact, in one
application.
of the properties, plot number 3, you're not gonna, you've agreed not to subdivide that again, because that's the one
Correct.
that goes, of course.
exactly,
So,
for the deep hole. So that's Kelly. Peter, any questions?
Is there a buffer between the end of the property of 168 Rockville Road and this forestry?
So we don't dictate or manage the actual forestry program. That's the applicant. They're in a forestry program currently that is in existence, and it's not something that is proposing any changes. So we don't have any jurisdiction over that, if that makes sense. But they can't go back there and clear cut all the trees if that's your asking.
I apologize to be not very naive.
No, that's okay.
Can you explain the forestry?
Patty?
So the forestry management program, I have to confess, I don't know a lot about it, other than the fact that it's a management program through DEC. Where it's almost like a conservation easement, and well, Rick, if you can speak to it better than I can, but they have to
the
manage
purpose-
the property.
The purpose of it is to keep the land in timber production.
So I think they're
So there's
limited, you know,
certain
they can
acts of
do,
maintenance, that the landowner enjoys, like putting it into the 480s program.
Basically, it gets selectively harvested every 15 years or so. Maybe sooner, you know, maybe longer than that, for the tax break to keep it, you know.
as a healthy forest.
As a healthy forest, exactly. That's all.
How long has it been in the program? The forestry?
That I don't know. I just.
Patty, do you know anything about that?
I don't know how long it's been part of the program. I mean, it's not new, it's been many years.
But it was logged
Recent.
probably 7 years ago tops, so maybe not even.
Yeah.
And it has to be renewed on a 7-year basis,
Yeah, I have no idea about that. I just know.
so it gets renewed.
So it sounds like it's for tax purposes.
That's all.
There you go.
That's all.
So new homes.
Correct. So, Lester Cohen? Hi,
So I'm across the creek
okay,
from there. So, yeah, my thing was about the 137 acres in lot 4.
sure,
So-
there you go.
so, You know, it seems like.
No, you won't see any changes except you'll see new flags on the trees.
Seems like I got all my answers.
Okay.
And you guys don't manage that DEC thing, so.
We do not. If you have questions, you can reach out to the DEC directly and ask them. They'll be happy to answer your questions because nobody probably ever calls.
and you can't get them, there's a lot of information on Google.
Yes.
David Stoltz?
I'm just here for the mill.
Okay, the mill project has been canceled for tonight.
Yeah.
For the public hearing. Okay. Okay, anybody else for the Barry Turner project? Going once, twice, 3 times. Okay. Motion, can somebody close the public hearing?
Make a motion.
I have Rick. Zach, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay.
I'm not abstention.
Abstaining?
I just have one comment.
Yes.
That once the map gets finalized, we still don't have right to farm on it.
Oh, we're not that far yet. Okay. So, maps. So Patty brought the maps, the updated maps today that shows the right of way, and thank you for doing that because sometimes it's in the deed and that stinks.
Yeah.
So I appreciate putting it on the map. Comments on the map. So we have right to farm, for the final map.
And the only thing that concerns me is that there may or may not, depends how long they've owned the property. There may or may not be something on this because apparently the owners have never had a title search. Deeds, covenants, easements that don't appear on the map.
For attorneys, yep.
We do the research as far as any easements that would affect the area of the lots that we created. We did not for the remainder of the.
Okay.
Okay. Going once, twice, and third on that. All right. I have a decision, which we can go over. You give me one, huh? Okay. Well, there you go. Oh, I have one here. Okay, Town of Rochester Planning Board minor subdivision approval, Planning Board 2024-2, a minor subdivision. Patty, I have a copy for you if you want to follow along with it. 345 Towpath Road, 56.69 acres. That needs to be updated. You following along with me? We got some changes. Okay. So total acreage is not 56.69. We got to get that updated. R5 zoning district. Going to page number 2. General conditions. This approval is conditioned upon the applicant submitting all necessary final copies of the plans, reports, and documents to Town of Rochester Building Inspector. The applicant shall present final plans for signature, which shall identify entitled final subdivision drawings and modification of this condition. Number 2, this approval is further conditioned upon other approvals which are currently required or any which may be determined in the future be required in conjunction with the construction and or operation of this being used, secured, or renewed as applicable, and which are needed by operational for federal, state, and local laws and regulations, whether or not noted above in a specific condition of resolution. Not included but not limited to Army Corps of Engineer, DEC, DET, Department of Transportation, Department of Health, Town of Rochester Town Board, in compliance with New York State Uniform Fire Protection Building Code. Should any permit approvals or any subsequent activities necessitate a change to the approved plat or contravene any conditions here or an applicable code, the matter shall be referred to the planning board for consideration. Should any conditions imposed by other agencies permits cause condition to be a conflict, more restrictive condition shall prevail. Patty, this is our typical language, so sorry. The subdivision plat as approved by the planning board shall be binding upon the applicant and any subsequent owner. Any changes in the approval plan shall require resubmission and reapproval by the planning board. No deviation from the plans, reports, or other documents that form the basis of this approval are effective unless and until an amendment to the resolution is secured from the planning board in writing. The town may stop work on this project and or revoke building permit or withhold certificate of occupancy and or seek any other additional relief as authorized by law if any term or condition of this resolution is violated. All fees regarding this application must be paid in full. So talking about fees, we're going to be waiting on 2 bills that will still come in. I'll need from our planner and our attorney, so we'll get you that fee. I can't sign this until I get the fee, but once we get that total, I'll get it to you for escrow, see where we're at, and then Jasmine will reach out to you, and then we'll get maps signed and decision signed. 5, any necessary bonds of the performance of the work shall be in such writing. We don't have any. 6, the owner's consent block shall be signed and dated to the owners following the date of last rescission prior to the chair signing the plot. Can you just make sure that today's map is the final map?
Is dated today
Please.
with the right to farm.
Yep. Okay, effects of approval. This subdivision approval and associated conditions shall be binding upon the applicant and all successive owners of the land, so long as such use shall occur. This approval shall remain effective as an authorization to secure the required permits and establish the use for a maximum of 1 year from this date of approval, unless the applicant shall have submitted written request and the planning board shall have adopted such resolution granting an extension and provided the applicant has submitted proof of having diligently pursued the implementation of the plans. Motion on that, please.
Mark, before you vote, I just want to point out to the board, this resolution not only includes approval of the project, it also includes a neg deck. If you look at the last whereas in the first resolve, it says, just to read it quickly, whereas the planning board has carefully reviewed potential adverse environmental impact of the project, taking a hard look and evaluating such potential against the significance, criteria for significance in 6 NYCR 617.7C, and further evaluated the project against criteria for subdivision approval. Then it says, now therefore be it resolved with the town of Rochester planning board hereby finds there's no potential for significant adverse environmental impact from the proposed subdivision within the meaning of section 617.7 and determines that no draft environmental impact statement will be required. So this is the point where you should consider whether there's any potential significant adverse environmental impact.
Yes. So I have the form. I don't know if we want to read through it. It's up to you guys.
I wasn't necessarily suggesting that. I just
Yep.
want to point.
Yeah, that's fine.
As well as on approval.
So I need a motion for the negative declaration of significance. So negative deck, Cindy.
I'll second.
Second by Rick. All in favor? Aye.
Roll for.
Yep.
Roll call for me.
Rick, Cindy, Rick, roll call vote. We'll go ahead.
Chair Grasso,
Yes.
Member Jones,
Yes.
Member Jarvis,
Yes.
Member Graham. Member Nelson.
Yes. Okay, so we have the negative declaration, and now I need a motion to accept the
Make the motion to accept.
the approval. Okay, so Rick and Zach. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, Patty.
Okay,
Thank
thank you
you.
very much.
Got it.
Is she going to submit the app just today?
Yes.
So that gets changed.
Correct.
Yeah, new date today with the right to farm.
And final. And market final.
Final subdivisions on and lease date.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, no, just bring it.
No.
Oh. Hey, Greg. How you doing? Good, how are you? Thank you. Alrighty. We have one before you, but
You're
more to
welcome. Have a good
hang
night.
out, yeah. Okay, next is planning board 2024-3, Big Net. LLC, James O'Shea and Bjorn, I don't see. Okay. Special use permit at 5164 Route 209. We have update, I don't think we have any updated maps. Haven't updated anything yet. So we have a couple things still outstanding, obviously. Do a recap as to where we were. We were waiting for the ZBA's decision on the signage.
Yep.
We were waiting on the Ulster County Planning Board, which we did just receive as of yesterday. As of today, I'm sorry, which came in with no county impact, so we can check that box on Ulster County Planning Board. We had a couple of items that you were going to bring to us, which was your solar plans, what that delineated looked like. Obviously, your building signage, you know, that's sort of up in the air. Those were the items that came up with that I had. Let me go back to the planner to make sure I have his comments. Highway made their comments. Highway said, I have no issues with Big Net using Medica hunts for their truck deliveries. That was good. And I received a fire letter from the fire guys. The fire department is not only tasked to responding to fires, but a wide variety of other incidents that include rescue, emergency medical services, building collapses, hazardous material incidents, and other multitude of other incidents. Aside from that, the department is also tasked with fire prevention, which is intended to educate the general public to hopefully prevent emergencies from occurring. With that being said, the district officers of the Ackwood Fire Department have no concerns or questions on this proposal, so fire letter is good. Keeping those guys happy is important. We do have a public hearing tonight, which we'll see what we have on that. We talked about lighting outside. Did you make any changes? I know that signage is going to change potentially with ZBA's comments. So if your lighting is going to change, we need to talk about that.
It would only be in relation to the sign. We decided with the exterior lighting, otherwise with that.
Correct. Okay. Traffic flow sounds like we talked about, and the highway superintendent is good with it. Public hearing, which we're going to do next. What about on your side? Anything else on your side?
No, it kind of seemed like we had checked the boxes in the last meeting.
Okay.
So we're just here to see what the public has to say.
Okay, great. So why don't we do the public hearing?
Before you do that, can I
Sure.
have one question?
Yep.
On the map, the last map that we had, it looks like stormwater collection basin.
Yep.
Along Medicons. I don't see any stormwater collection pipes that feed the stormwater collection basin. What is that used for?
I'm not exactly sure, I guess. There is a larger collection basin that is to the north of the building.
Yep.
That definitely has pipes feeding to it. It may not be on the map, but there is like
Was that from the original approval, Rick?
yes,
From the
this is
original?
all unmodified. But
Gotcha.
there's grading along the back excavated wall, not wall, but hillside. There's maybe 3 or 4 like sewer grade style things that are channeling runoff from to that pond. That's my understanding.
You're talking about the one in front here?
Front corner on Medica Hunts?
There's one on the corner.
Yeah.
of the property.
Mhm.
And then there's one right on Medica Ponds. Actually, it looks like it's part of the parking lot. And I've never known that parking lot to flood.
Yeah, there's definitely a dip, in the front there. I'm not sure if any pipes go to it. It might just be for what runs off the parking. I'm not sure.
Because originally the parking lot kind of sloped towards that area,
Okay.
and because the road has a camber on it,
Mhm.
both roads drain to that area.
Okay.
I would assume it was culvert or something.
There's probably a SWIP filed when they did the original application,
Yeah,
but that's okay. That's not privy.
yeah, I'll try to figure it out.
Okay. So let's open the public hearing. As we open the public hearing, there are a couple of items for the public to be aware of and recognize. Public hearing is to the public to exercise their knowledge and or input about the specific project. The board will grant public comment to community members who have signed up on the clipboard, which we have one. The table located at the entrance community center. Community members have 3 or 5 minutes to speak. This opportunity is not a question and answer from the board or the applicant, yet the opportunity to speak about the application and or knowledge of the property. Comments should be related towards the health, safety, and welfare of the project and the town of Rochester. With that being said, I have Elliot on 5182.
Yeah, sorry, because I primarily just have questions.
Sure, well, that's fine.
So
You're the only one, so that's okay. We'll,
I guess part of the question is the manufacturing facility gonna be creating greater noise or more noise than there already is?
Yeah, so there will be one additional source of noise that we looked at in previous meetings. It's a ventilation fan into like a restaurant ventilation for hoods over the walking equipment. And that will be audible outdoors, but well below the noise level of the highway.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
And the hours of operation of that?
The vent hoods initially will be on from 8 to 4, and we may expand those out.
Not right.
Yeah.
Okay, but the noise wouldn't really be appreciable on the restaurant.
Yeah, the calculation that I did online, which is not professional, equated it to library or quiet whisper with the houses immediately across.
Okay.
So,
All right, and odor?
popcorn. You'll be able to smell popcorn occasionally. We're over on 10 Queens Highway right now, doing the same thing.
Right,
And it depends on which direction the wind is blowing.
I think I'm mostly up one. So.
Okay.
Not that it's an unpleasant odor, but I'm looking to not be surprised.
Sure, totally. Yeah.
That's primarily.
good question so far. Keep it going.
And the next one is water usage.
Hardly any. Yeah, it's insignificant. All we do is clean equipment. There's no water in our process.
Right,
So,
I didn't think so, but I just.
Yeah.
And you guys have already discussed the traffic and shipment and all that.
Yep.
Um,
And just for your, if you want to view, there's a traffic flow plan on the cement. Yep, exactly.
1,000%.
Yeah. Alrighty. Anybody else for the public hearing on
Thank you very much.
Big Net? Okey dokey. I think we should leave the public hearing open because we're still waiting for items from the ZBA regarding signage.
Yeah, the only other thing which the gentleman mentioned.
Yep.
I don't know whether we asked to make it part of the record and part of the conditions, but the hours of operation, generally on a commercial facility,
Well, they're not open to the public.
but their hours of operation
They're hours of production.
does affect, in this case, it's a popcorn. smell,
Yep.
but we should.
So we would have that as our, in our condition of the hours of operation. Okay. Which you said would be 8 to,
8 to 4 is what we do now, but in the application, I asked for them to be open from the potential to operate from 7 to 11 p.m.
yeah, which is our ability for commercial. I think that meets our commercial code. We'll check on that to confirm.
I believe it's the same escape times.
Okay.
So whatever, so it's whatever you have, is it what you have right now in your current facility?
At skate time.
At our
No,
current,
your current
at our
facility.
current facility, I think we have 7 to 7, which we don't utilize yet, but
So you want it to be 7 to 11?
yeah, just thinking ahead.
Okay, so
Yeah.
the same noise level that you mentioned to the gentleman, which is next to nothing with. except
Yes,
that
could potentially be from 7 to
We should
11.
include.
Yeah, so
whatever.
Dave, you want to put that language in our, when we go to, with the approval, we'll just talk about hours of operation. Okay, not to exceed our current code. Peter?
Yeah, something I mentioned before, Jim, that I talked to the fire call this week.
Yes.
That the back of the building really needs to be kept, no parking anytime.
Yeah, so we'll need to see some signage for no parking
Yeah.
signs there.
We have to get it all the infrastructure back there is HVAC.
Sure.
Fire department connections and all that. And if there's any vehicle back there, it could be a real problem. So that's just something.
Okay.
Is there like a schedule for how frequently you put no parking signs?
So what we do is, you can propose any sign that you want, let's say no park, whether it's, sign with a line that says parking, but you would propose it and bring it to us on a map. It would be a part of your signage plan. So when you get your signage for your ZBA approval or whatever you guys decide to do, that would be the time to bring that signage at the same time.
Okay.
So that needs to be a condition also,
Yeah, we're not that far yet. We still need,
and probably a map.
yeah, definitely. Anything else? I think you got some work to do still, so we'll see you when you're ready. I assume you're gonna be on the May agenda for ZBA?
You bet.
Okay, so then we'll see you potentially in June, maybe May?
Our
Yeah.
meeting in May is before the ZBA meeting.
Our meeting in May is
Our
before the
meetings are
ZBA.
always-
Okay, so we'll see you in June.
Okay, did we miss an opportunity to do a ZBA meeting in April?
He requested to not be on the agenda because you guys are not ready for the ZBA yet.
Okay, all right.
He said he didn't have everything.
Okay.
So you let us know when we're ready and we'll get you on. Okay, and also we needed some sort of a solar sketch as to what you're gonna do and what that looks like.
That wasn't in the folder that we discovered in the last meeting,
It's in there.
Is it? Okay.
but I'll look and resend it.
Okay.
Wait, I got it under the book too.
Okay,
I'll send you guys an email tomorrow.
Okay, great.
thank you.
All right.
Alrighty. We'll see you when you're ready. How's that?
Yeah.
We don't say that often. Okay, moving on. Moving right along. Right, Cindy? Okay, here we go. The granary. Planning Board 2024-8. This is for site plan approval with Alan from Briner and Larios and applicant Ren Hockey. Ren, how you doing?
Allergies, but other than that. we're
That's
good.
okay. So again, we had to cancel the public hearing for this application, which we will work on this meeting to get a new public hearing set. Apologies, that's on our side. We will get that fixed though.
I noticed that you go by the parcel viewer.
Yeah, so our process, just to bring you guys up to speed, our process for pulling the data of where the public hearing is to be sent to comes from the parcel viewer. So that's great because it always maps on all four corners of the property and it makes sure that it gets everybody. What we did accidentally is we hit the parcel that was on the application, which included just one of all four parcels because Ulster County hasn't updated it. So we missed a couple of the neighbors.
What if they don't, they told me they're lagging updating the parcel viewer.
So we have it fixed. We pulled all of the parcels and then took out the list that were duplicates and now we're gonna fix it. I apologize.
No, I happened to be looking at the parcel viewer, I was saying, I saw that it was just one big.
Oh, they did update it.
No,
There you go.
it's not completely updated right now. It says undecided,
Oh,
or
okay.
undefined on the side,
Yeah.
but they are all grouped together.
That's good.
Ortho imagery was correct, I didn't know. didn't look
There's
like
no
it.
further.
They didn't have any
information.
Ackward LLC, wasn't it?
No further.
All right, so updates from last time we saw you is we asked for lighting, which Mr. Bulmer is here from CPL, who will give us a brief couple seconds on the topic of lighting.
Sure.
We also talked about sending this to Ulster County Planning Board. We did just receive their comments back, so that's great news. We'll go over those.
Great.
And we will reset the public hearing and we'll go over any board items. So why don't you guys bring us up to speed? And here we are.
Do you want to speak on behalf of CPL or should I just?
He's going to talk about when it's time for lighting. He'll talk, but we'll let you guys start.
Oh, I was gonna do lighting first, but Alan, let me take it first.
Yeah, go ahead, Alan.
Just to kind of go through fairly quickly, we got a few things that were sent in. I also made copies, so now sometimes it's easier for people to have reduced sets in front of them. So I've got three things. I'll have the first two first. The first one was we were asked for renderings of the building to be included with a site.
Yes.
So,
Love a good copy. The little things, Alan. We like a good copy.
Sorry.
Saving from digging my phone.
So that's the first item.
Great.
Second item is a square footage table. papers on stuff, so. Okay, so going through these two first, these are both from Dutton Architecture.
Yep.
We were asked to do a site plan basically with renderings and pictures. So our suggestion was to basically include some of the renderings we've done already and bring them into a site plan. Andrea Bornhoff from Scott Dutton's office did a really nice job. She went through with me, we discussed it on the phone. What she did, it's a 7-page set.
Okay.
So it's basically a cover sheet showing where the views are from, and then 6 view sheets after. So basically what she did was view 1 is basically looking at the core of the complex from the main intersection, Brandon and towpath. View 2 is once you get into the site, kind of looking at it from here. View 3 is looking in a westerly direction towards this kind of courtyard area. And I'll go through some more detail in a minute. View 4 is looking at it from kind of looking northwest from towpath. View 5 is looking up from our open space area, which is down towards our sewage reserve and other wooded and lawn area. And view 6 is looking towards towpath. So as I flip through those, and I think it should hopefully clarify what was a little confusing before that was, we know what the buildings look like, but we don't know where they are on the plan.
Perfect.
What Andrea's done is very nice is, A, she's added that, she's labeled things, and she's also got some signage too. So this would be the main entrance you're seeing when you walk into the, I'm sorry, I'm good, okay. When you walk into the site, so basically, site sign, the Sears house, which is the one right at the corner, the granary, which is our food service establishment, the coal barn, the tall barn. As you know, the coal barn is really more for gallery, and the tall barn is for housing. Sears houses all for housing, and then up here is for towpath, which is going to be backup house operations and the employee housing. So that's sheet 1 of 6, and that's generally looking right down the middle. We're being dragged. If I flip to sheet 2 of 6.
Could you, before you go,
Sure.
could you go back? Where is the rail trail?
The rail trail would be over here.
Yeah, what comes first is there.
Yeah.
Okay, can you show me on the bigger map?
Yeah.
Right here. Right here. Okay, and that's where the bike store is?
No,
Bike shop is right here.
yeah, we'll get to. So we'll get to that. That's will be one of the views. So I'll show that to you when we get that. But that's, and actually there's 2 views of it because one's partially obscured, but I'll get to that in a minute. If you look at this first sheet, you'll see this kind of double line right along here. That is your railroad. Okay, or your old railroad grade, I should say. So okay, if I flip this back to sheet 2.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, so on sheet 2, take the same view you had in view 1, and you've now gone into the site a bit, and the Sears house will be on your left. I'm now looking at the side of the granary, and I'm looking towards the tall barn. And this is back in kind of the courtyard area down here, and this is where all the existing parking, roadway, work area was for the former granary facility, and then the dirt road going down towards the back of the site.
Great.
If I go to sheet 3, which I call view area. So on this one, basically it's looking west from the open space, and now I've gone down the dirt road and I'm looking back more or less. This is my tall barn, the coal barn, the granary, and the Sears house.
That's standing right here looking.
Yeah, so if you go back to your sheet 1 or sheet 3 is basically you're standing here looking west. So it gives you just a different perspective, some of the same buildings from different angles. if I go to the next one, which is sheet 4 of 6. Now, basically at what's the rear entrance to the site, the parking, which we'll go through, get on our site plan later. This is the entrance to the parking. So to answer your question earlier on the bike shop is right here, partially obscured. You can kind of see there's something back there, but you can't quite clearly see what it is. So we'll get to it in a minute on a better view. And then here is the Ford Towpath building, the employee housing, and back to house operation. There's the Sears house, which we saw originally coming in from here.
Yep.
U5, I'll call it. Now what I'm doing is I'm looking east from the western open space of the site. So I'm a bit more down the dirt road, and I'm looking back at the coal barn, the granary, the Sears house, and the tall barn. Just once again, same thing, different perspective. I'm kind of looking this way. If you recall, the entrance is back here, the other side of the granary. Okay. And then sheet 6.
Go ahead, Peter.
I have a question. Is that road, you referred to the dirt road, is that a roadside road? Is that a road size road?
The dirt road is the existing dirt road that goes through the site. So it's not going to really function as a road anymore. It's current, it's there, it's disturbed. We're going to use it for running utilities for the back of the site. It'll obviously be used for walking path and stuff like that for the back of the site. But, we're going and doing landscaping work, mowing, what have you, but it's not going to be a road she'll, transfer the site.
Okay, and also, same question on 3.
Sure. Whatever you
That
need.
black line, is that the same surface, or is that a proper road?
That's a walking now.
It's a walking path.
Yeah, it's a footpath.
That'll be item 4. Or whatever type of material they're gonna use there.
Okay.
Probably, chip.
So then if I go to sheet 6, is everyone clear
Yep.
through 5? Okay. And I go back and forth as much as you need. Sheet 6, the view on this is you're on towpath, you're looking south from towpath. It's including 8 towpath and 4 towpath. So once again, this is the blue house, the backup house, the employee housing. This is the yellow building, which was the cottage next to the former restaurant that burned down, which we had the other view looking in here, but you really couldn't see it. This, I thought I saw it a little bit earlier, but I think my eyes might have been tricking me. So this one, you definitely see the existing yellow on that. There's your entrance. If you recall, this goes back to parking. This is where some of your employee parking is. We'll cover that on the site plan, but this hopefully puts everything in perspective as far as what the buildings look like, where they are on the site, and different views.
We, Chair, did we send this to the fire department? For their
Yeah, so
comment?
let me bring that up to speed on what we had outstanding. So highway superintendent review, he has no issues. Fire has 2 questions, but no issues. First question was, will there be fire access to the sprinkler systems? Question number 1, I don't need an answer today. Second question.
I guess what that means, Peter, you can probably.
Yeah.
Exterior access to the building? you mean?
Yeah, if there's a sprinkler system, we usually plug into a system. They have a back of skate time, actually, it's a storage connection. So we can connect an engine to it.
For a restaurant or a fire suppression system?
For fire, well,
that should be-
restaurant's a different thing.
That should be simple enough, because our plan, actually, we're gonna sprinkle the restaurant. The plan was to do a 30,000 gallon tank buried right here, and this is actually the delivery area. That would be perfect for accessibility.
Yeah, usually there's in addition, like, again, Bjornkorn has their skate time has a cistern that's 10,000-12,000 gallons or whatever, but they have a storage connection. So if you need additional water to pump into, you can pump into the system.
Okay.
With an engine. So that's what they're referring to with that, is where is that connection gonna be? That would make sense to me, it's gonna be outside of the Granite Road side.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a great spot for it.
Yeah.
Is that the only building that's gonna be sprinkled, the restaurant?
To my knowledge. Yeah.
Is, I assume that's compliant with
I think the only
code.
circumstance in which you need to sprinkle is if there's a 3rd floor, which we don't have.
If there's
A 3rd floor,
which one we have first floor, 1 and 2.
So I assume that the fire department, when they commented, they agreed that that's the only building that needs to be sprinkled.
Yeah, I have to confess I was not involved in that part of that, so,
I can ask them for clarification if that satisfies their question.
It doesn't seem odd, I just don't know what the code is, but there's a lot of buildings there, so.
yeah.
And then
And so they're saying that there's access to all the other buildings?
That was a question I had too.
So their next question is, second, will all buildings have 360-degree paved access? They state answers to these questions will not be prevalent continuation of the project, but will help with the pre-planning for incident response.
Yeah, we will not have 360-degree access on all 4 sides of the building, just because of the way the site topography is and the site layout is and the site parking is. But as you can see, if you look at, so for instance, here, you've got access to the side, you've got access to the front.
Yep.
Obviously, also, you could basically pull right, in the event of a major emergency, you could pull right through the existing courtyard area and get to basically these 2 sides. Tall barn, you get to from this side.
Yep.
And potentially that side in case of a real emergency. Sears House getting to from here, from here, from here. Or towpath, you get up from here. A towpath, obviously, although it's the smallest building, it's actually got quite a bit of access from those sides. So you have a way of getting in there. One thing I should mention, getting back to the connection, which was a really good question, is that the fire suppression system, is under design.
Sure.
It's not the type thing we would normally, have the,
We don't need the renderings of it.
right.
We just want to make sure that it's accessible.
So once, approval could obviously be conditioned upon
Sure.
that, but those types of nitty-gritty details are really more once the project gets through you,
Yeah.
and we're starting to do interior finish.
Of course.
MEP work. with
Yeah.
the elect-
It would just be a condition of approval that,
Yeah.
as the fire request would just say, that the sprinkler system has access to the fire department from one of the
That
accesses.
would, I think that would be fine. What's also nice about that, to be blunt, as even though not doing the MVP design, it's doing the site design, is that way it's kind of a checklist for the person doing the design. It's like, here it is, here's where you have to come in.
Exactly.
So that basically is like, okay, we took care of that. check
Good.
mark.
No, that's great.
I always find that
Helpful.
well-written conditional approvals are always helpful to architects and engineers.
You hear that?
So not to beat a dead horse, but how does the fire department typically, this is the first site we've had with this multiple, right? Multiple buildings like this. They need to have a plan of attack.
Yeah,
Do they
we typically do a pre-plan for this meeting, that in the event of a fire in this building or that building or whatever, we would bring what apparatus, what additional companies, where we would stage equipment, and, and what our access is. And that's what I was asking about the road service, because what jumps out at me is the tall barn. An incident there, not necessarily a fire incident, but maybe a medical incident, so they need to be carried out. Do we have access? Will we be able to get an ambulance right up there? Will we be able to get a fire engine? Will we be able to get a ladder in there if we needed to?
Right.
And so that's where I was going with that.
Sure. And that's beneficial from 2 perspectives. Number 1, obviously, you're not showing up the site and then trying to figure it out. They're not at the site and then trying to figure out where are you coming in.
Right.
So you kind of, everyone's touched base ahead of time what to do in case of a, medical, fire, or other emergency.
Yeah, and then the other thing is that, proximity, the other concern that I have, just looking at the map and knowing the site somewhat, is the proximity of the coal barn to the granary. Because they're actually pretty close to each other, and being, wood-sided buildings, that's a sort of a concerning exposure, which is why, in this case, we're very close to Granite Road, and if you also have access, off of towpath, but I can see many situations where you want to go in between the granary and the tall barn to access the coal barn in the event of emergency there.
So Chair, based on what Peter's saying, I think we should send a note back to them that, no, you're not gonna have 360-degree. And what we want you to do, would like you to do, is to meet with the applicant to determine whether or not any changes need to be made there, and just provide fire access, but also ambulance access.
Yeah, this is kind of a good situation in a lot of ways, because you have access from 2 roads, and plus another way around through scenic road. So it's a good, it's not one way in, one way out, as many places are. But being able to access internally, and it's also very close to the fire department.
Right.
and it access internally and be able to get close around or to, on the far side of the coal barn in some way, shape or form, is useful, whether that's from Granite Road or whether it's from internal. And then ambulance is also another.
So rather than wait until there's an emergency.
Right, so what we'll do now
We
is,
need to make sure. something
Good dry run.
well, yeah, so what I wanna do to fix this is Alan and Ren, you guys can get with the fire department, reach out to code enforcement directly and schedule a call with fire department. You'll probably get their district chief. And I'm gonna ask Peter to join that call if you have the ability. And Peter is our representative for Ackwood, for this district here. So you'll have Pat Davis and Peter and maybe the safety officer. You guys can jump on a call and run this dry run. And then if there's something that needs to be changed, you can bring that to us. If not, and they're happy with your proposal, I'll just need a letter from them that just says, based on our dry run, we're happy.
If I could offer a suggestion,
Sure.
that might be even more helpful that I've done on their jobs, is, you know, Ren as the representative of the project, ourselves as a site engineer,
Sure.
Scott Denton as the architect, we just either come down and meet at the site with fire.
I'll let you guys schedule it however you want to do it.
On the project.
That's fine.
It's like that way, it's not like you're trying to share information over the phone
Sure.
and a Zoom call.
Yeah.
Looking at the plans like.
You guys schedule it and however you want to do it, that's fine.
We just want to make sure the fire department says, we're, you know.
No,
we're
I
set,
totally,
we know where we're going.
I totally did it when I've done those sites or other meetings before the fire department's great, because that way it's good questions come up, good assurances come up, and if there's any improvements that can be done, everyone's discussing.
Okay. So before the next meeting, we'll want to have a response from that.
Okay. Okay.
Or thereabouts.
Or yeah,
Keep you send a note of the two specific questions.
Yep, I'll forward that to you. Yes, Jasmine, we get that from Dave. Sure.
While we're talking and while people eat everything else really nicely, complimentary on that. We're just putting the snow, assuming we ever get snow again, but where are you putting the snow?
So the thought process as far as in general, and I can get this more when we get back to the engineering site plan, would be basically pushing it off the end here. And basically probably pushing it like off the end here, maybe off the sides on the way in. This area in general, you get heavy snowstorm, it's probably going to more or less be cleared more or less by snow thrower as opposed to plow, because there's gonna be a lot of, soft and hard, escaping in there.
Cars.
And the last thing we want to do is especially in winter like this, you don't want to be plowing too much when you don't have the ground frozen, because you're just basically ripping everything up.
Right.
Number one. Number two, it makes it even harder for access, because now everything that was potentially somewhat stable is now all mud. But we had given some thought as far as the layout, as far as, when you're clearing the parking lot, how do you get the snow off there? As opposed to having to bring in the, back over the bucket and try to hold the different parts of the site.
Which brings up two other issues, as well as looking at the internal wayfaring signs. Do you have a tear sheet that you can propose to us to have that? People come, they park, where's this, where's that? Are you gonna have some sort of signage?
Well, it's indicated on this one,
Yeah, I saw the signs on the building and the entrance, but he's talking like, patron parking, employee parking.
Well, that we've already got on.
Yeah, that's all on
Signage plan, so as soon as I'm done with this, I'm gonna get back onto the site plan
There
as
you
far as some of the changes that were asked for. Plus I can reiterate some stuff we went through
Okay.
before, so I think we got most of that. As far as, well, as parking signs and vehicular signs and facility signs, as far as individual pathway signs, that's something that, could be developed, but that's probably something we kind of come later when we're starting to get actual architectural details.
It'll just be a condition of approval that the signage will just need to be approved, that's all.
Okay.
Well, we need to approve it. It's not a condition of approval. We need
Yeah.
to approve it.
But they have an overall signage plan already, I'm just gonna go over it, but if there's something that's not rendered, it just needs to be a condition.
Parking on the south side, we have the most extensive. There's no handicap parking down there. There's handicap parking along towpath. There's handicap up by clinic. There's nothing down here that I see in the larger parking area. On the
there's
south side.
one, right here.
Which I can get to, you'll be able to see it a little bit better on the site plan, but. Let me
I'm
just,
talking- yeah, I
I'll
saw
jump
that
ahead,
one.
I'll jump ahead from this, and I'll get back to the usage chart, but I will sheet two.
Not like that.
So we were we have the handicap spots over here. We have the handicap spots over here. The handicap spots over here service basically both the, a towpath directly and wasted into the site from here. The handicap spots over here service the general complex over here.
I don't have the ratio of handicapped spots committed to memory, but it seems like on the south side where it says where the towpath building is, or to the left of that, there's no handicap there.
So you go down to the bottom of sheet 2, we have a handicap parking space summary. On the handicap parking space summary, we have to have 3 spaces with 1 van accessible. And,
Yeah, I only see 2.
yeah, well, we're required, well, we got 1, 2, 3, 4.
Which one is van accessible?
I think it's the one on the
Which
front, on
needs
the
to be
corner.
vacant, right?
I think it was the one right in front.
Okay.
But we made sure to do that way. We went through the EEOD with the town board. We made sure to not only calculate the accessible parking, I should say, but also include it on the submittal.
So while we're on the parking conversation, I just want to make sure that you recall your conversation about the EEO for parking, that you need to have, and it'll be a condition of our approval with the town board.
Yeah.
That you will need 6 spots utilized, whether from the town or a neighboring parcel or someone within proximity. You will need, I know you're aware of it, I just want to reiterate.
Yeah, we already got that covered on the revised plan.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and it's in conversation too with Moriello. He has.
Good.
Mr. Moriello, I should say.
Yep.
Is
Drafting that, good. It's just, it's gonna be a condition on our side because we don't necessarily have purview of it.
Yeah.
But it is your responsibility to secure 6 exterior parking spots, so I understand.
So what I'm gonna do is, when I get through the other architectural piece,
Yep.
because I'm presenting on behalf of the architect and the engineer, obviously, today. One of my updates was specifically what we're doing for the municipal
Great.
lot.
Okay.
With the understanding that when coming as far as site plan, Mike Moriello is working through down.
Okay.
The exact agreement.
Great.
But there was a couple things that you would ask for additionally on parking and other items that I
Updated.
have maps updated.
Do you want me to go over Ulster County Planning Board stuff, or do you want to keep going?
If I could keep going,
Go
it
ahead.
might be more useful because I might answer some questions.
Okay.
Before. So anyhow, the next thing was I gave out this chart because there was a question came up as far as we have something as far as square footage. If you recall on the site plan, we had buildings by use. And what was asked for was what is the square footage of each building? So there's a summary provided, that was provided previously to the town planning board, and I obviously hand out copies today. For towpath, which is the blue house over here, is 2,476 square feet. That's basically employee housing and backup house. I would just summarize what's at the end of the chart, not the individual columns. A towpath, the bike shop, is 724 square feet. The granary, which is food service establishment, which is the main building right here, is 6,237 square feet. 2 towpath guest rooms, the Sears house, is 2,288 square feet. Once again, I apologize, I'm rounding up because some of these were done to the 10th. And the coal barn over here is 700 square feet. Where applicable, I'm sorry, and also the guest rooms, the toll barn is 4,246 square feet. Where there was crossover between square footage and flow rates, because if you recall from the previous presentation, we did a full sewage design, we have DOH approval, and we have a DEC speedies permit for it. Where applicable, such as the retail square footage, we use the same square footage that appears on this chart in our calculation. Obviously, there's certain things where it doesn't apply to square footage as far as the calculations, like the number of rooms. Guest rooms are based on it, not a rate per square foot, but a rate per room. So we make sure that our calculations matched up with the architect's calculations. In fact, as she was, as Andrea from Scott's office was doing this chart, she made sure to contact me to make sure that her numbers tracked mine, which is kind of nice. We're giving you one set of numbers.
You mentioned events here for the mayor. Are these all inside events? Event space inside or outside?
All inside. We have no plan for outdoor.
Chair, I don't know, maybe Dave Gordon for comment. Does this And since it's an EEO, maybe it was already covered, but does this kick in the commercial event portion of our?
No, because they're not proposing commercial events. They're gonna be a commercial operation. So they're not proposing 12. That would be something different or in addition to, if that makes sense. So if they wanted to have a wedding there or, a concert, I'm just talking out loud.
Well, if they're commercial,
they would have-
events, then that's a commercial event.
And what,
So the time,
What do you mean?
commercial event. So the timeframes.
No, their proposal include food service establishment, restaurant, bar, co-working space, coffee shop, bike shop, gallery space. Events to include weddings, reunions, and retreats.
which we also included on sheet number 2 of the site plan, which we did as part of the EOD design review, was that under the granary building, which is where we potentially have events, we made sure to qualify what type of event. So it wasn't like, gee, we're having an outdoor concert.
Right.
It was specifically weddings, reunions, retreats, et cetera.
But
Well, it kick.
Dave, does that
potentially
kick
kicks
in our commercial events?
The age old
I have to
question.
look it up.
The reason I'm concerned here is it kicks in the age old question of noise.
Right.
Not even-
When a restaurant, just wants to have a wedding, do they have to come and go for the planning board to?
I don't think so,
That's
It's not
really all this
outdoor.
is.
but it wouldn't be outdoor. You
not
wouldn't be
talking
doing.
We're
Okay.
talking about doing everything in.
Right, so if you're operating still within your current use.
Yeah.
You could have a,
Well, it's similar to the golf course, where we require them, where they had events inside and they build their barn. And we require them to do a noise study to determine what impact, if any,
external.
Yeah, that's what I'm concerned with.
I got you.
You know, the business will, you can only set up, that would be outside, you can set up between the hours of X and Y.
Right. I think that you mentioned at your last, the conversation of noise.
Yeah, we did I'll let Ren can speak more eloquently than me, having better background in this than I. But we have come up with a plan for sound limiting devices.
Okay.
For the site to address this. So that would handle the sound from a other regulatory review and approval perspective. We made sure, obviously the granary, for instance, is a part 14-1, New York State sanitary code food service establishment. So obviously if you're doing a wedding in the granary building, you've already covered the food service kitchen through the restaurant and tavern
Sure.
part of it. And we've already, shared with them the fact, similar notes, basically that it could be used for an event as opposed to a.
Yeah, specifically getting at the noise created by the event. not the-
Understood. I just
Not
wanna
the
let you know.
ability to do it in the restaurant space. That's.
Right. If you meet the noise requirement, obviously the
Right, I
commercial
just wanna let
events
you know
code
from
is
a-
fine.
from a public health
So Ren, talk
perspective,
about noise.
In a way for focus and cover on all that.
Um,
We gotta respond to those questions.
Noise, what do I have to say about noise? We have sound mitigation, equipment that we're gonna have. We're gonna do the studies. I think Henry covered that. I don't have the data in front of me, but I think that 10 dBs above ambient at the perimeter. Everything will be measured and, we have no intention whatsoever of having any outdoor events. I think what we're talking about is just typical restaurant noise and with the occasional, maybe there's an acoustic, set up where maybe some music's being played indoors, but.
All right, so we're gonna need to see the sound study
Sure.
and know it, and, if you do exceed, that can be mitigated, it can be mitigated by soundproofing and whatever.
Yeah.
But it's just exactly like what the golf course does golf. They also wanted to do events.
Sure.
We made them jump through hoops.
Yeah.
I think the question was really about, our ability to have music amplified outside, right? Imagine going to, you're eating outdoors, you'd want to have some ambient music playing while you're in a beer garden. Kind of feel a bit awkward, I think, without it. I think those are the sounds that really come into question, not necessarily what was happening on the inside. I just don't know if we can do a sound study until we've insulated and actually done the
So you're not even
construction.
gonna, you're not gonna have dining outside, therefore you won't.
We are going to have outdoor
So
dining,
therefore you're gonna have music outside.
not live music. This was the big question at the town board level, was live outdoor music, amplified music. And it was a question of whether we're amplifying live music or just having ambient music playing on speakers in the courtyard, right? And that's when the sound mitigation plan came.
And the sound mitigation plan specifically talked to basically the limiting devices and not allow it to go over the.
So we need to see that, we need to take a look at that in more detail and figure out if we need more information.
We submitted all that to the town board.
It's a part of our town board submittal that they gave to us.
Okay.
So we will review that with our engineer and see if there's something that we have more questions on it.
Sure. I mean, I think-
To resubmit this now.
Yeah, and with respect to, I think the outdoor, we could do the sound studies sooner than later, I suppose, on the outdoor amplification of music, but, if that was necessary.
Well, let's see what you submitted and let's have Greg look at it and we'll go from there. Yeah, okay. Okay, Alan, anything else?
Yes.
Okay.
Fine.
Okay.
So going back to. So the square footage, we talked about that, then moving on to the engineering site. 5 pages, same 5 pages that were presented before. I'm just gonna go really quickly there to give you a little more detail on the updates. Basically, as you know, we designed everything in accordance with Town of Rochester zoning law, New York State Health Department's sanitary code, part 14-1 food service establishments that I mentioned already, part 7-1 temporary residences, which is hotels, motels, and part 5-1 public water systems that will be developed, the wastewater disposal. These items again are repeated in not just the New York State sanitary code, they're repeated in the county sanitary code. So in addition to those items from the state sanitary code, they get reiterated in Articles 2, 4, and 10 of the county sanitary code, plus Article 6, waste facilities and disposal, which we utilize for doing the waste disposal system, in addition to DEC 2014 intermediate standards. So we use those all as a basis for laying this out, plus a ton of input from the town board, plus some of the input we've received from you already. So the project continues to kind of get reiteratively tweaked, if you will. So page 1, nothing's really changed here. This is the existing conditions plan. Shows existing buildings, the existing general disturbing courtyard area, existing parking, existing ruins, what have you. Sheet 2, proposed conditions, we covered it before, but I'll show you what the changes are. Basically, it was the existing buildings plus the proposed improvements. The new uses are all labeled. As I mentioned when we talked a few minutes ago, we have our use table. We now have the square footage table. We have the zoning compliance. We've covered truck movements. We've covered parking analyses through here. That was all covered previously. The wastewater disposal system down here, the wastewater reserve area down here. As I mentioned before, as part of the town board process, the sewage disposal system design was reviewed by DOH, was approved by DOH, and New York State Department of Environmental Conservation State Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permit was issued by the New York State DEC for that. And the review and approval was done by the DOH. The permitting for the groundwater discharge is done by the DEC.
Okay.
This does not show the sewage system in the level of detail that went to the health department.
We don't want to see that.
A couple other things, in this plan, we covered a bit more as far as obviously utilities, things like that. Now, the new stuff that was asked for, was if you look about here and it appears on your review size, we were asked to include bike racks. So over by the bike shop, Raytopia, we would propose bike rack. The second one was we put a bike rack over by the main granary building. So whether someone's coming into the bike shop, obviously it's nice to have a bike rack outside of a bike shop.
That was also county's recommendation, so if you're checking them off, go ahead.
Not a bad idea. I mean, I frequently use Table Rock in Rosendale and overlook the Woodstock. Both of them have bike racks right into the shop.
Okay.
So it's nice and convenient to have one. And it makes sense. So we've got the 2 bike racks there. They're also showing other sheets, which I'll go through, but I'm going to mention them. That was one question that came up. We've added that. And I'll get to the parking in a minute. We've also added to this plan some basic stormwater elements. As I covered in the last submission, as we went through the town board, The disturbance on the site is under an acre. It does not require to have a New York State DEC SWIFS, Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan. So we kept it under an acre. We kept the disturbance under an acre. We made sure to be fairly conservative, so that we were, we wanted to make sure that we kind of covered any possible disturbance. And not only we cover parking, we covered a buffer around the parking, we covered all the utility trenching. We made sure to get everything into that 0.91 acres so that we were not be in a situation where we went over an acre. However, what we kind of came up with is what I'm going to call a small SWIP, which is something I'm working with on another project that's in the watershed where actually they require to have small SWIPs where you're a water course. So we've added a few things such as vegetated buffer filter strips throughout the site. There's one area of the parking over here and over here where we're building up the parking a little bit. The level comes out. So we're going to do vegetated gathering and basket walls there. We've added rain gardens a few places, especially around the granary building and around the tall barn building and a couple other places on the site. Some of those are going to basically have overflow, some of those are not. Once again, not required by code, but a good idea as far as being able to basically accommodate some of the stormwater on the site. So we're showing those things. I'll show you some details on that later. The other thing that we added as well is going to be off-site parking, which when I get that sheet, I'll share with you. So the main thing as far as changes on this sheet is some stormwater detail and some of the stormwater locations, I'm sorry, as well as the bike routes. So we go to sheet number 3, which is the utilities. Nothing really changed much on this other than those a few months ago. Sewage, state reserve, existing well, water supply, as I mentioned before, is under development. And that we kind of showed where electricity is buried, water from the run, wastewater from the runs, and some of the stormwater piping for the couple of rain gardens. Nothing like I said, nothing really much changed on sheet 3. But if I go to sheet 4, we've updated this since the last meeting specifically for the offsite parking. So A through L have not changed. Now on sheet 4, just in case anyone's lost track of where we are. If we look at letter M, we have over, as you come to the site over here, the back entrance, as you come to the site over here, the front entrance, basically there is a letter M. M basically says additional parking in municipal lot across street via Schoolhouse Road. Because you would specifically ask the last meeting that, okay, I pull on the site, the parking lot's full.
Yep.
What do I do?
Thank you.
We figured since there are potentially 2 places where you're going to come in and say, what do I do? Or gee, I came into here, I came up here, there was nothing here, I came here, and where do I go? It's directing us across the street.
Perfect.
So we added that. So that was a new change since the last meeting. And then sheet 5. Our details in general, a lot of these are pretty standard details. As far as stormwater concerned, we already covered the erosion and sediment control, but then we've added buffer filter strips, rain garden details, and vegetated gathering basketball. Where obviously each of these is where appropriate. So those were the main changes in the plans. Just kind of recap. Stormwater I just touched upon. We're keeping it under the acre. Certain stormwater elements will probably be tweaked a bit more as we get deeper into construction and landscaping. The parking, we've covered that before. As we discussed, there's the arrangement with the town and the private markets.
It doesn't have to necessarily be the town. It could be a neighboring parcel owner who has agreed to have some sort of an agreement with you. It doesn't necessarily have to be the town, just keeping that in mind.
The reason I'm mentioning is just that's the way that it was
Proposed. Yep, but if you made a deal with, the neighbor, I'm just using the post office example. If you made a deal with them to use parking there, as long as you have an agreement with them, that covers that. We would need to see it. So just keep that in the back of mind.
Understood. That's always an option as well. So basically, site plan, we've kind of covered the changes. Wastewater design, brought to speed, what was done and it was basically designed on 3,759 gallons per day. At full occupancy and full use, probably will be less during the week, will probably be less in actuality, because I typically don't see things getting full design from site for full standards design.
What was the number again?
Sorry,
What was the number again?
I think it was, I'm going from memory here, it was 3,759
Per day.
per day. And that's what the water supply is being designed for as well. The speedies permit for the 3759 has already been issued by DEC. Because that was part of the wastewater approval. DOH reviews and approves the plans because it's a regulated DOH facility under 10,000 gallons a day. And because it's over 1,000 gallons a day for subsurface discharge, you have to get a DEC speedies permit. So we made sure to take care of all those applications, reviews, and resubmissions and approvals. The food services I mentioned, Part 14-1, New York State Sanitary Code facility, the water part 5-1, the temporary residence Part 7-1. So in addition to what's been brought up as far as the fire department, keep in mind also that like the Part 14-1 for the food service and the Part 7-1 for the temporary residence also cover the health department codes as far as fire safety too. So like the answer system in the kitchen, access egress as far as the hallways, fire extinguishers within the buildings, that's also covered in those codes as well.
What about the fact that the guest house, the tall barn is gonna be guest rooms and it's 3 stories?
Because that will be part of the DOH permitting as far as the fire safety aspects of the temporary residence program, as well as meeting discussion with fire, how they're comfortable basically get in, get out, and access.
Friendly, accessible, and 3 stories, it needs to be sprinkled, yes?
I think it's considering that the bottom floor is below grade and that the middle floor is considered the first floor.
Okay, because it doesn't say it's below grade, they call it the first floor, it's below grade.
Yeah, if you look at, sure, this might help. If you look at, this is the tall barns, yeah, you're basically, below grade, because the embankment goes right behind it, first floor, second floor.
So essentially it is 3 stories, a fire escape on the outside?
That's once again going to be part of the architectural design. We're going through basically the site elements. This early in the process, the architect.
Yeah, your condition of approval will be to meet that condition of the department.
There's going to be a lot, as with any project, there's going to be a lot of heavy lifting as far as architectural design, specifications, MEP, mechanical, electrical, plumbing design, as far as, like electric, plumbing fixtures, ventilation. As I mentioned before, the health department code pieces. So once the project gets through the planning board, that's when a lot of that work, and obviously the costs involved in the planning really gets going.
My just concern is because of course it is guest rooms or employee rooms, it's 3 stories, however you want to slice it, it's still 3 stories. And it's one of the least accessible buildings roadway wise on your plot.
I will make sure to bring that back to the architect, what we get. Just make sure we have a better.
There's not even an ancillary road around from the back to it.
Yeah, you'd have to go through the courtyard.
Yeah, and as I said before, the car yard would be such that we can get through it in the event of an emergency. It's just not going to be day-to-day normally trafficked.
Right, but again, you do have a treed site and that trees grow.
There's no trees in the courtyard.
I understand, but I'm looking at the tall barn on the first illustration there,
Yeah.
and you see the tall barn there. You don't have parking adjacent to it, you have a rectangle at the end of the parking lot, I'm not quite sure what that represents, the black square rectangle.
That's an existing shed.
That's the existing shed right there, which is.
And then you have plantings that are going to be put in, the green circles.
Here and here.
Right, and if I was coming in to look at that for fire access, the best way to do it is from the end of the parking lot, to the trees and the feathering away.
We're going to be coming right through, there's a open right from here.
Yeah, this entire.
That's
No, if I go back, it might help if I go to the, trying to answer your question as best I can. The existing dirt road which the pathway is still gonna be accessible basically right through the site to the back.
And maintain in the case of an emergency that a fire truck needs to come in, it's not, it's already hard packed. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure the guys go over.
Yeah. And just so you know, these are rain gardens, these are like low growing shrubs. This would be very accessible by way of fire truck. There's also an elevation change here of about 8 feet.
Right, I see that on the.
Yeah.
So in that general courtyard area is basically where, when it was an operational retail complex, vehicles came in, went out, people got deliveries and what have you. So it, as Ren mentioned, it is already fairly hard packed. It's already disturbed. Yes, it's gonna be cleaned up a bit, landscaped nicely, but it's still going to be able to
It'll
be
still
traversed.
accessible and be traversed.
Absolutely.
Because the other thing you have to think of in the event of a large emergency, all of your waste lines are running through that path line corridor there towards where your septic area is for towpath 4, towpath 8, Sears House. All of those go through that central area, and the weight of fire apparatus, especially with container or in this case, for third floor, they're big vehicles.
When we did the wastewater design, we also looked at depth of the wastewater lines, bedding material, and made sure it had adequate cover. That's not to say that a fire truck comes in with an outrigger and the outrigger goes, right down top of it, you could suffer damage, but to be blunt, if you have a major fire facility, at least you're concerned just the fact that I've got to come back and fix the crushed sewer line. But we did make sure that as part of the DOH review, not only did we have to do the field design, we gave them full profiles on every single gravity line, force main, septic tank, base trap, pump station, what have you. And where appropriate, obviously, any sort of precast vessels that potentially could be subject to extra loading, so we can do thickened up roof slabs to do an H1 flow.
Right, but your precast vessels would be actually near the, point of use. You've only got force mains going.
Right, what I've got here is I've got the facility septic tank, the facility grease trap, and the facility pump station. Once again, that would basically be at grade with an H1 roof slab on it. And then we have another tank over in this location here, which is based underneath the footbed.
Okay, I didn't realize that the dotted line going through between the granary and the tall barn is an old access road.
Yeah.
So that's something.
There's a lot going on in the site, I will admit. And
Yes.
it took a while for me to learn the site as the engineer. I'm sure it took Brenda a while to learn the site as far as the.
It actually
So-
connects all the way through to DeVoe Lane and then out to Granite by way of the neighbor's property. Not that we want to keep that. I'm sure he doesn't want that to be.
But that's good to know for emergency access.
But it does, it goes all the way through.
And that's why, the full or site meeting or firehouse meeting on the emergency access is, also important, because that way the questions are answered up front. And if the questions aren't answered, then the solutions are developed at that point in time to follow up. So
No,
that
I
gives,
understand.
that work, like I said, I've done it on other projects where the questions come up amongst the planning board members, and it worked out very well.
Originally, this lot back here and this lot, the addresses were DeVoe Lane. So the access to these back here are actually.
Alan, anything else before I go over Ulster County Planning Board?
I think I'm going through everything, but let me double check.
Where do you have your dumpsters, trash
Good question.
located on the property?
And we may have touched on this during the last meeting, but if we did.
But it does, you can see it.
Yeah, we did at the last meeting.
Okay.
And Ren may want to speak, I think we talked about it last time, we have proposed, I think this is right here, regarding the type of operation we're planning as far as food service waste.
Well, that's kind of a heavy question.
Sorry.
But specifically to food service waste, I mean, the hope is that we have minimal waste. Our ambition is to be a zero waste facility. Akin to the other project that he's had done.
Right, I remember him mentioning at the last meeting.
Yeah.
But you have, to answer your question, Zach, is you have a spot designated up front that's going to be enclosed for
Yeah.
trash that'll be accessible.
It will be garbage, it will be recycling. I'm sorry, that's what I was kind of trying to get to.
It's good.
Right.
Alan, the pathways off of the handicap spots, they're traversable by wheelchairs, they're hard packed, hard pan.
We would probably be doing item 4 on it.
I can't even say.
We'd be doing an item 4 coding on this, because the nice thing with the item 4 is, once you wet it, once you compact it, it sets up, almost like concrete. And if for some reason it gets drilled or gets damaged, you can just basically reapply and pack it out again.
So item 4 is gonna be used for the interior? All the interior pathways?
On the property,
To make it wheelchair accessible?
I think wood chip is the standard, right? I mean, I think it.
Yeah, so if you go to page 5, I've got the wood chip path retail, and I've got the accessory path retail. I don't think we brought up with the earlier plan from, that architecture kind of showed the types of pathways. Yes, we got it there.
That's it, there, that is the hard pack for the accessible from the ADA. pathway. And these are wood chip.
Gotcha. And we kind of called it out by various colors and the other one.
But you do have, okay, you have it there.
And the problem to be blunt with grass or wood chip, whether I'm using a walker, a wheelchair, or even crutches or a cane, or you're pushing a stroller it's just hard to, it's hard to move around.
Okay, I'm gonna go over Ulster County Planning Board.
Okay. And also the.
That's what I'm reading. Okay, yeah. Okay, Ulster County Planning Board. So Ulster County Department of Health permits will be required, obviously. Town should require, so this will be a conversation for you and the town when you have your conversation. Town should require a public access easement be filed for the trail and any trail connections. Okay, so when you work on your municipality agreement for parking, you can work on that side for an agreement as well. Recommended bike racks, possibly best near proposed restaurant. Sounds like you already solved that problem.
Can we jump back really quick?
Sure.
Because that was ultimately we're not proposing activating the rail field yet.
Okay.
I understand that they would love to squeeze this in now.
Yep.
It just brings up a much larger conversation that we're not ready to have.
Okay.
Because it relates to, well, quite frankly, not having enough money to.
Sure.
Once you rebuild something and then having to maintain it.
Right, so that what we would do in that situation is we would just respond saying that you have no proposals at this time.
Right.
The Ulster County Planning.
But ultimately.
You're not gonna hook up to the road?
We would, of course, we would like to, but we would, if we're gonna grant the town or public access in exchange, to be frank, we would expect that they would maintain.
Of course.
So that's a larger conversation that needs.
So that conversation just needs to occur and we need the findings whether A, they're gonna do it, B, they're not gonna do it, or A, you're not it, or C, you're not interested. Regardless what it is, we just have to tell them, Ulster County Planning Board, say, one of those three items.
Move it forward.
Yeah.
So they may not, meaning the town may not have to put it in.
Or the
It's not
town.
County, it's right now, I think that the expectation was that, well, we would pay for, look, ultimately, it's very expensive to even this short length of, to make it an official rail trail. Sure, we could mow it and like call it a rail trail, but for it to actually be considered
It has to be certain
OMW,
standards in terms of.
there are major standards, the rebuilding of the rail trail between Ackwood and Honisu was very costly.
So I think the issue, in my mind, the issue is, are you in agreement to give an easement? If somebody, whoever comes up with the money, are you in agreement?
And that's a
will you
conversation
agree?
he's gotta have with the town.
The end goal is so that
So
this
the
is a
easement to them.
public access 24/7 rail trail.
That's your goal.
That is connected and linked to the existing rail trail. We have, there's a much larger conversation about how we're making that connection, crossing Granite Road, how we're managing the neighbors and making everybody happy so that it's, and that's just a conversation that quite frankly was gonna take much longer and hold up our project.
So the conversation is with who? The town and with the county?
So the county's comments is the town should require a public access easement be filed for the trail and any trail connections.
Yeah.
So what we're gonna say is if you decide to move forward with that, we will need one of those three. Either you're gonna do it, they're gonna do it, or it's not gonna happen.
Or, right, is it enough to say that we currently don't have any plans to activate the rail trail?
No, I don't think that's enough. I think you have to say, we agree that we want to see it go through. We're gonna give you guys, we're gonna give an easement. Who
Right,
pays for it is the discussion that has to
And-
happen. But
right, and
to
the-
say.
I don't know
if you
I
want-
don't know if that's true. Is that how that works?
If we say, if you want to do it, no, but this is, if you want to do, this is.
Before we jump into it too deeply, I just want to point out that for everybody's knowledge, these are required modifications. The county planning board gives two types of recommendations. Some are just recommendations, some are required modifications. A required modification is not actually formally absolutely required. The planning board can approve it without that, but if we approve it without it, there's a price. We need a supermajority to approve it. So we've really got to think through. And it is a required modification right here in black and white, for the access easement and also for the bike racks.
The bike racks have already been taken care of.
Okay, black and white. So this has to be a very conscious determination. If we're going to approve it without that, we need a supermajority. We need 5 votes.
Well, we approve, from my perspective, if we approve it without it, in effect, we're gonna have a permanent break in the rail trail, which to me just isn't acceptable. I don't know who's gonna pay for it, but we have to require that there be an easement available for it to eventually go through, dependent upon who's gonna pay for it. So.
that's
to me,
my ambition. Help me find the grant to get it through.
I don't know that it's appropriate for us to tell you, you have to pay for it.
Yeah, no, I just
It's
like,
appropriate for us to tell you and your project
right,
that the easement has to legally be available to be used at some point for somebody to build it.
So Dave, how do we draw that up on our side? We make a condition that it's their responsibility to secure a easement with the town for the rail trail
Yeah.
access to go through?
No, they grant the easement.
Understand.
They'd be granting the easement.
But both parties are not willing to pay for it. How does that easement get filed?
Well, you don't need to pay for
You don't
something to
have
be
to
built,
do
you
something.
can have an
Pay for
easement.
filing.
If I own the property and I don't want the rail trail to go through,
Well, then they don't get our approval.
Yeah.
We want the approval to go
you
through.
I understand. So now I'm saying, okay, it's my property. I want the rail trail to go through, but nobody's willing to pay for it.
The issue is a legal one of.
Right.
Them saying, we will isolate a piece of this and call it the future easement for a rail trail.
A future rail trail.
Who builds it is up.
Correct.
If they don't agree to do that, then they don't, in my mind, I'm not voting to give it approval.
Yep.
They have to give an easement to whomever. An easement doesn't, you help me out here with the legal mumbo jumbo, but.
I actually need to understand more about the physical nature of this, what's paid, what's not paid, et cetera. We need to decide this now. I think the point though is that this is a required modification. It's probably something the planning board wants. Well, I mean, what's the issue in terms of, is it currently unpaved? Is it just
it's completely overgrown. It's
It's
not,
It's overgrown.
yeah, I mean, I don't know what the standards are of a rail
Yeah,
trail.
it's grass and it's.
And who owns,
brush and
who
it's
owns the
all-
property? Who owns the right of way?
I do, we do.
So it's essentially the part of the, okay.
It's just part of the, at this point, it's just a long unmowed part of our property.
Right.
It has never been a rail trail. It's only ever been,
It seems to me, reading this, that what the county's demanding is quote unquote a public access easement. And it seems to me what the most important is, this property is owned by the applicant, right? If you're the county, the nightmare that you have is that the applicant owns and occupies the property and doesn't allow any development of that property for public access, right? That's the nightmare that I see coming up. So if they just grant the easement, which doesn't cost anything,
Right.
that nightmare is solved. Now, who ultimately develops it is something we can discuss later on.
so we're
That's
ultimately
one
just
of-
future proofing.
Sorry?
We're just future proofing for when and if we develop. a
Right, the
rail
county
trail.
is saying, if you're gonna do this, you have to give the town an easement to do the future expansion if it ever happens.
And what if I never do it?
If you never do the actual easement,
No, what if I never do
Do
the
the-
rail trail?
that's, you gave them the ability to do it, whether they do it or not.
But you gave up the easement.
Right. At some, if somebody has.
The easement can say a bunch of things. The most important thing for the easement is that you're giving somebody, the town or the county, the right of access over that particular.
Which you wanna do.
Let me go on. That's point number one. Point number two then is how does the easement get developed, who pays for it, et cetera. That does not seem to be a demand for the county right now, and it can be negotiated later. You don't have to, you may want to do it, you don't have to do it, maybe the town does, maybe the county does, maybe a private agency does it, I don't know, but the nightmare right now, and this has happened before in this county, is that rights of way, particularly rail trail, take the Maybrook corridor, used to be this huge inverted horseshoe at the top at the walkway. And on the Ulster side, it went, people don't realize, people think it goes to New Paltz, it doesn't go to New Paltz, it goes way down to Maybrook in Orange County. All that entire right of way was sold off to Imholt. People, the county just sold it off in the 90s. And that's the nightmare, is they don't want private ownership of this right of way to exclude the possibility of future use. We'll never get that rail trail back from the walkway down to Maybrook.
My concern is that without having come up with a real plan, working with the neighbors, if I grant an easement for the town, it's for the existing piece of property, right? It's for the existing strip.
Correct.
Some of the discussion with the neighbors is how do we potentially circumvent their property?
So that's a conversation with Moriel.
What's the relationship of the strip to that property?
So it's in between two homes.
So if I can come in.
Yes, show us some of that.
On sheet one, I apologize. I realized after I presented everything, I didn't stop, so that's why I handed that while we were talking. The other reduced copy. On sheet one, the long path right through here, that is existing railroad. So as Ren said, compacted in some cases, grass in some cases, overgrown in some cases.
So where's the two houses, Rand?
You're here.
Okay.
1, 2.
So you're saying that the existing rail trail, two houses break the existing rail trail. So
No. We cut right through.
Cut right
It's your
through it.
property.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's his property.
So then here's the question that we would have for you is, in order for us to move forward with county required modifications, your easement would need to be granted to the town. How that easement goes into fruition, how it gets built, whatever, that's a future conversation. But in order to get through us, we need an easement that is going to grant the town that authorization to do that in the future. If it happens or not, if it gets built or not, if there's funding or not, whatever that next step is, that's a totally different conversation.
Or it doesn't have to be, but it can be.
Sure, just has to be.
That's what I'm, do you guys read it different? I mean, is that an unfair reading of this, that they just want to ensure that the access is preserved, and then we can talk about the arrangements later?
I think it's fine so long as it doesn't hold back this part of our the project of moving forward.
But Mr. Moriello will need to type up an easement.
Yeah.
And present it to us so that Dave can review it and make sure it's adequate. And then we'll need to get it'll be a condition that the town board attorney reviews it as well.
The issue.
Is it clear that the county's demanding an easement in favor of the town, or do they want it for the county? It all says it's public access.
Town. It says the town should require a public access easement be filed for the trail and any trail connections.
Where the town means the planning board.
Correct.
So, but the public access easement that they're requesting, if I was the county, I'm not sure I would necessarily only want it in favor of the town. They may want it for themselves.
So why don't we find out?
That's a conversation for Dave Church and Rob Lee.
Yeah, that's right.
Why don't we ask Dave Church?
Yep, okay.
The issue of the property owners or how you build it or what kind of.
That's a different.
Shading, shielding, and that's down the road. Yeah, presumably if I got a swimming pool at the edge of it, I'm gonna want some sort of a barrier so I don't have people stopping along the rail trail and get off their bike and jump into my swimming pool.
Yeah,
That's not something you want to deal with right now. You own that property, you own that line that goes between the two property owners. You're not intruding on their property, you own that property.
Right,
So we don't want.
I understand that. The question was,
those neighbors might not want that in their backyard.
well, there's that part, but
that's something.
Right.
Just right.
But the other issue was, the county won't put a crosswalk on a county road unless there's a light or a stop sign, right? So this is what the parents said, let's just approach this at another time. We haven't figured out how, where's that? I'm sorry.
I just closed, I'm sorry.
Go back over and go. getting across Granite is the issue, right? It seems like the easiest way for us would be, well, at the end of our property, jump right across Granite and and meets up with the trailhead. That is so far.
Right, so that's not our purview yet. What we would just need for this application is the easement granting the town the ability to utilize that for future opportunity for rail trail.
Sure.
That we check the box, you check the box, we move forward. Now in 10 years, 5 years, 1 year, 50 years, somebody actually has the funding or a grant comes through and they want to do it. It's their responsibility to get that crosswalk figured out, a light, a stop sign, whatever that case may be. We just have to make sure that it is available if they want to use it.
And mitigation, means that as a secret matter, when they do that, it's their responsibility to deal with the neighbors, make sure the screenings in place, et cetera.
You've already been through all that. Yeah.
Been through that.
Yeah. Okay. So that, we're moving on, but that's where we're at right now.
We're gonna make it known.
Yep. Moving forward.
Short date, sure we find out.
We'll get with Rob to see if it needs to be town and county, town or county, or one of the other.
See what he wants.
Okay, last one. Any access, I'm sorry, there's a few. Any access to parking should have initially paved approach before use of gravel or other material. So historically on a county road or state road, you need 15 feet of asphalt at that apron. Alan, I'm sure you're familiar with that.
We were utilizing the access fee, the existing parking that was gravel.
Okay, so the apron portion should be initially paved.
Yeah, that shouldn't be an issue.
Okay. Parking spaces.
I think we're probably flexible, whether it's paved or it's granite stone, cemented stone, architectural stone in the 15 feet, whatever.
Right, like a
It's more expensive.
paper.
Right.
It's more expensive.
Parking spaces should somehow be delineated, or a maintenance program may be needed to do periodic remarking or defining of spaces on gravel or other non-pavement surfaces. So how you're gonna outline how those are gonna be with, you have item 4, wood chips or whatever you're putting there. Yeah. Coordination with Ulster County Department of Public Works should be required given proximity of access to a county road. Such coordination should happen whether or not Ulster County DPW permit is needed. So regardless of if you're coming off County Road 2, 6, what is that number? What is Granite Road, County Road, whatever that county road is? I think it's 2. Don't quote me.
I think you're right.
But it could be 6. Anyway, that needs to have, you need to work with Department of Public Works to make sure that that access is correct. Even though they might not be an involved agency as a permit provider. Does that make sense? So on the highway superintendent side, our highway superintendent is happy with the towpath road access. No problems, everything's good. But the Granite Road non-access, because it's so close and abuts a county road, we just need the Department of Public Works to check the box and say, no impact on us, we're good to go. Okay, so there's, of those items, we already know Ulster County Department of Health permits. We already talked about that in the beginning. We'll talk about the easement. That's an outstanding item. The recommended bike racks is already completed. The parking for the paved approach and the apron, we're gonna work on. And the coordination, which is gonna be a condition of approval on our side. We're just gonna say coordination with the public, Department of Public Works, confirmation that county route is not affected. Okay.
And one thing I should mention, I forgot to mention, EOH approvals.
Yep.
As I said before, sewage is approved, I mentioned this 5, 7, 14.
Yep.
Reviews. That's also annual permitting, just for everyone knows.
Yep.
So basically, once the facility is up and operating, every single year they are doing county permits. And every single year they are receiving inspections on those facilities as well.
Okay. Other outstanding items, Greg, I'm coming to you for lighting here in a second. We talked about noise, right? You're gonna provide us some sort of a noise overview and what that looks like. For the county has it, Greg's gonna review it. I think you already have it in the folder, Greg.
For the what?
For the noise. So they made a noise proposal. The county, the town already approved it in their EEO. We want the CPL to take a peek at that and see if there's any impact and if there's needs mitigation.
Or a study done.
We'll see what Greg comes back first. Yep.
With back to the county, was that the only required modification?
Yes, modifications, all of those I read.
Ose are all required modifications.
Yes.
And, but, okay.
There was 2 and 1 advisory, I believe.
Were they delineated on that? Because on the formal document, it's delineated. Required modifications. This is to the planning board, right?
Yep,
This is
scroll
not-
down.
This is not to the town board.
No, scroll down the other way.
Yeah.
There it is. So required modifications through the access will not be a county road. Given the proximity in the northern cut, realignment advisory comment is New York State DOT and Ulster County Department of Public Works require a certain amount of pavement length. So that's an advisory comment. And then the pedestrian and bicycle access, that's required modification and vehicular access.
I mean, this board.
We're gonna give you a copy of that.
This board can make all of them, we can require all of them or none of them. The only difference is on the required modifications. If we don't require them.
We need a
we
supermajority.
majority.
I'm okay with all of them being required, yeah. Okay, that's that. Let's keep going on. We talked about noise with Greg, he's gonna work on that. We talked about fire with Peter, you're gonna work on that. Highway letter is good, Ulster County Planning Board comments are good. The agreement with Mr. Moriello and the town parking or whatever you're gonna do with that, that's something you're working on. We need to set a new public hearing.
Oh, I have some lighting stuff.
Hang on.
Oh, sorry.
I need a new motion on public hearing to be set at the next meeting so we can get those items out. So can I have that motion? I have Zach and I have Cindy, all in favor of that? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Now we're gonna talk about lighting. So Greg reviewed your lighting plan. I'd like him to come back with his comments and then hopefully you have answers. How's that? Okay.
Have you seen my comments or no?
Yes.
Okay, okay. So basically, the comments that I had, so I received this as a request to review the lighting plan, so I looked at the lighting plan, but I didn't have the other full set of plans, so I wasn't sure what else. So some of this may just be answered, but like on the lighting plan, you had indications of blue dots and red dots, but there was no indication on the plan what lights were which.
Yeah, it didn't print out. I don't know what.
Okay.
Between,
like a table on where they are.
it wasn't even a table, this was just an indication, it's like they were literally,
Yeah.
the legend, everyone just would say like L1, like, it just didn't show up for some reason on the print, but I have all that here.
Okay, so that was the comment. Sorry, and then there was not a clear indication on the plan that I found that the light will not be greater than 25 feet tall.
Right.
Just needs to have an indication there.
Got
And
that here.
then the lighting for the sign, that it needs to not create any glare. And then the requirement that the lighting be sufficient for the IES&A standards for providing lighting for the walkway and parking. So that would be something from your lighting consultant that has put this together for you, that they're stating that. The other comment or statement was that there didn't appear to be any off-site glare associated with proposed lighting. There was no off-site glare associated with proposed lighting for the signage. However, because that was spot lights or
Right.
that I just wanted to make sure that that was clarified and stated that that will not create any glare to the traffic.
So I have answers to all of these except for number 4. I don't know why they didn't put it on the photometrics that it would meet the IES&A standards. Is there like a separate memo that should be attached, or do you want to see that on the photometric?
It could be a separate memo.
Okay.
From the consultant.
Okay.
From the lighting consultant.
Okay. Can I hand these in?
Sure.
You guys?
Yeah. Greg will be the one who reviews your submittal, so just make sure.
Okay, I only have 5.
That's fine. Just the one to Greg and we can share.
Okay. Would you care for one?
It's enough, yeah.
Well, we'll see how far I go.
It's probably in the folder.
No, this is new.
Oh, okay. I don't need.
This,
You don't. You have that, but you don't have this. No, I didn't. I just printed
Okay.
yesterday. This is the same. That's accurate. Here.
Good message.
I don't.
We'll share. Maybe you don't need it. You want it or you don't? No? Okay. Rick, here's another one. No, there's another one here.
There you go.
Which one is, who's that? Dave.
Yeah.
But do you have one?
I'm good.
Do you have that packet that prints out? If you gave him that, you have an extra photometric.
But this, Chair, this is all nice to look at, but I'm depending upon Greg.
Yeah, I don't even want to know about it. Greg, if you're happy with it, we're happy.
So,
But I do have a question about. You said that there were some signs that were not directed downward. There were some signs that were projected, or lighting that was projected.
No glare created, yep.
That's what it appeared to show on the plan. I didn't have a detail of, it showed the types of lights being provided,
yeah,
but I did not see a detail of exactly how those lights.
So my concern with ones that it's shining out is shining onto traffic.
Yes.
We had that with one project on 219. But more importantly, if it's shining towards any of the houses.
I can go through it, or, I mean, do I need to? I mean, it's indicated on this new photometric, everything.
Are there any outward lighting that's gonna shine on a house or shine on the traffic? Yes or no? And then we need to prove that to Greg.
Why don't we do this? Since for conversation of time, take a peek at it, give us your findings, we'll get back to them and see if there's anything you have any questions. I assume that if their lighting person did this, it probably is gonna satisfy your comments.
If you want, I can email you a digital.
So Greg, you know my concerns.
Yes. No, and that was my concern as well. I wanted to make sure that, especially with the photometric plan, photometric plan in general is showing the downward spread of lighting.
Dark sky line.
But if you have a light that's facing out towards, park or the road, that would be a problem.
Yeah, so the only thing that you're not gonna find is number 4. Okay, so I'll call him and say, okay, you need to provide something that.
Just need a memo to Greg.
Do I have his email?
Yep.
Somewhere? Oh, great. Thank you.
Okay, I think that we are good on your side for now. You guys got some homework, we have some homework, you guys have some tasks that need to be completed, and then when you're ready to come back, your deadline for submittal, Alan, is going to be the 29th of April. So you have 3 exact weeks. Greg he'll take 2 weeks to get this back and he'll get you some comments. Greg, is that the timeframe?
Yeah.
Okay. And we'll go from there.
Now, do you want to answer some fire department stuff by then, or is that just like a sideline conversation that's?
I'd like you to schedule a meeting with the fire guys next week. They're very readily accessible. Just as long as you give them a week heads up, they've been very, very accommodating in the past. So if you can schedule something this week for next week, they'll have an answer with a letter by the following week, which we can check that box off.
If I can't be there, Alan.
Yeah, that's fine.
You guys, you probably bring some of these guys out in this office too.
That's fine, yeah.
They're doing, it's a lot of,
Bring your ammo. Yeah.
So I'm trying to keep that.
Right.
Within each expert's purview. But the main thing we're really going to need to look for as far as our plan modifications is really that, 15-foot approaches.
Yep. Yep.
Really, that's really from the site perspective, that's
Sure.
the main item. Okay.
Ellen, I didn't ask this, and you probably said it and I missed it. You don't have individual wells for these buildings. You have a central water
You have
system.
central water system.
What's the capacity of the water?
So the well has been tested, I'm trying to remember if it was either 16 or 18 GPM. It was sufficient. Currently they're designing treatment.
16 or 18 gallons per minute?
Yeah. So what we're gonna, our flow at 37 to 59 gallons a day, is somewhere around like 2 to 3 gallons per minute would be what's required, even let's just say a 10 gallons a minute peak. So the well's sufficient to handle the peaks, but we're also going to be doing, to handle the disinfection and other treatment, we're going to be doing a certain amount of retention storage for disinfection. We'll also be doing some other storage. So in addition to the well being sufficient, there'll also be some additional storage on site that will help handle some of the peaks. Now, that'll be part of the part 5-1 water submittal to the DOH.
And where is the well that you're drilling
I'll show you.
in relationship to houses in the
It's
area?
over here. I'll show you it on sheet number 1 of 5 of the site plan. It's the former well for the former County Express.
Right.
So it is sheet number, I'm sorry, it's not on sheet number 1. It's right here. Facility well is over here. You go to sheet number 2 of 5.
Ryan, you gotta get new easels. They gotta go.
I knew it.
It almost made me.
Or a bigger bathroom. Cheaper than usual.
Yeah.
Really well, shows up over here. So we are going to be redeveloping the well, obviously, taking care of new sanitary cap, taking care of, proper berming on the top of the well, obviously new pump, new electric. In general, although not shown in detail on here, on the utility plan, just to kind of answer your question, this may be helpful. Our raw water is basically going from the well, and you can see it's shown in general detail, into the Sears House building. What's nice about the Sears House building, it has a full basement, and the full basement is where we're gonna have our water system. So we'll be bringing raw water into the basement of that, where we will have our disinfection treatment. Part 5-1 requires disinfectable water. We have to use chlorination on this facility because it's multiple service connections. You can't use ultraviolet when you have a distribution system. Single building, you use UV. All the buildings, we have to use chlorine. So inside the building is going to be chlorination treatment for disinfection, other treatment as required, possible additional pumping and storage in the basement of that building as well.
Great.
So so basically it comes in, it gets treated, and then if you look on the plan, it's also on the reduced size set, you'll see there's water distribution lines to every building.
What's what's next to where that well is? What I'm concerned with is drawdown of houses in the area or other businesses in the area. What's across the street?
The
laundromat building. And it's the same, we're using the same well that was used before, where it was an active children's staff department by the county health department. And we've already consulted with the county health department in addition to doing quality and quantity testing and starting to talk to them about potential treatment design. We consulted with them about reusing that well. So we made sure before we designated that well, because it had been a prior food service establishment facility well, that it was okay to reuse that well.
And we also ran it for a month and it just
At that rate?
I think so, right?
Yes, and we will probably do some more fluctuations. Usually if a well has sat that long, you really want to get in there and just let it clear up before you do the testing.
Okay, we'll move on and we will see you guys at the next month's meeting.
We got your Dawn Redwood in there, by the way.
Good.
Did you find it in the details? It's in there.
And the new,
Yeah.
Oh, I got a copy.
we have a copy of that.
I didn't realize how big they were
You
before
got
I
one of
agreed to it.
What's that?
I didn't realize how big they were before I agreed to it.
It'll take a while.
And I told him not to forget to mention the.
We'll take a quick minute, let them tear down, let Nadine set up, and we'll get started here and put it on the next application. Nadine, you're up next, so 2 minutes, how's that?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Friend, feel the reference, LE5 map. Just as a map. Everything. I got 5 copies of everything. I just
That's what Scott, that's how he does it.
tell them I just need the map.
I got you.
Save yourself some paper.
I sent my son in to give it to you.
I was like,
I wrote down, I made note myself before you. For a lot of conditions,
I didn't touch it for like 2 days. I was like, I don't even want to look.
That's funny.
so I literally threw my shit.
I was like, yeah, I gotta let them know. We
Dawn
just-
Redwood? It should be, yeah. Yeah, it's in there.
Nadine, we are going over Greg's notes to start, just so you know.
Ready.
Okay, well, come on.
Green.
Thanks again.
All righty, see you later. Thank you.
Give you an idea, say. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Hello. Well, with me tonight
Nadine,
is,
after tonight, I'm gonna need a month off from you. No,
I won't be here in May anyway,
there,
so.
that's what I wanted to hear. I'm just kidding.
Alec Ladd, I was his attorney, been here before, so.
Great, good to have you back. So application 2021, did you get that? -516, major subdivision for the Jager Realty, Nadine Carney from Peak Engineering and Lucas Avenue, Peninsula Lane. Our goal tonight is to work through this decision that we went through the past couple of meetings. finalize, Greg's, items that he has, so we make sure we have those on our conditions. Go over that condition, vote on that condition, and, move on to the next, step of securing your permits, and all of your, maps, and things like that. So, you want to start?
Yeah, I mean, just briefly.
Sure.
Before our meeting in March, we had made a pretty complete submission with, revisions to the plan based on comments that we received from all reviewing agencies and from CPL. We completed the SWIP documents. We circulated all those to the agencies, to the DEC, to the Army Corps of Engineers, to the Health Department, obviously to Greg. We got some comments from Greg back. Some of these I feel like we've already talked about because some of these comments are related to the road design and the grade and the approach and some other things for the road. And we did circulate this previously to the fire inspector. Their primary comment was the width of the road, which we had a public hearing. So we have since widened the road to the 20 feet, 3-foot shoulders. So based on receipt of these comments from Greg, we did resubmit to the building department. Did you get anything from them today?
No, so I spoke to you about that conversation, and then I spoke to them, and they said they need a couple days because their fire inspector was out on plans today. But they said that they immediately didn't have any concerns based on the last conversation, but they would get us something.
Yeah, because they did some of the other issues with the change of grade and things like that, which was modified. And we had grades up to 12% slope that the fire department didn't have an issue with before, but we've lowered to under 11. So all in all, I don't feel like any of these are going to be a surprise to the fire inspector.
Agreed.
So we're just awaiting their comments apparently. But with regard to the SWIP, that we seem to satisfy all the comments on the SWIP. One graphic scale typo type thing on the plan that we're gonna fix, but otherwise, we're in good shape with that.
Right.
We're still awaiting, comments from all the other reviewing agencies.
Of course.
We
Okay.
do know that, Dave has been working with the applicant's attorneys with regard to the HOA and the conservation easement.
Yeah, we agree, Dave,
Really-
that's been set, all the agreements are done. Yes.
Done. So,
Took a while.
right,
We
so
got there.
other than the wording in the conditions, if anything's updated or changed or not changed, the way they were previously, we're totally fine with that.
Yeah, I don't think
So-
Greg had any changes regarding, of updating any of the old, items, but Greg will go through those one by one.
I don't, we can, I mean, I don't know that we need to,
Okay.
but
No, I don't think we need to either.
I did make two minor changes. One change was I referred to our new comment.
Yep.
And the condition, and then the other was just simply, I understood what you were saying about the approximate location of the test pits versus the trees.
Oh, yes.
And I understood that, because when I went back and looked at it and realized one of the test pits was on the tree.
Right.
I figured it probably wasn't, but I can understand where when you're doing even GPS locating, if you don't have a good signal, plus or minus 5 feet.
Yeah, and we did actually, look at that again and make the modification. Those plans just were submitted, so having that stay as a
Condition.
is fine,
Yeah, that's
but we're able to.
So Rick, while you were away,
accommodate
we just talked about the plus or minus the septic design proximity of the conservation, that's fine. Dave just said that all the agreements are 100%, that's completed. I don't think we want to go through your letter anymore because you reference it in the.
Correct.
So that's fine. I'm good with that.
Fine, and the comments are, I would agree, the comments are minor, they are something that we address.
Okay, so I'm gonna pass out this resolution again. And we're not gonna read through it all because we've done it a million times.
Can I grab one?
Yep. And.
So can I ask a couple of questions before we?
Yeah.
Do
Do you have enough? Yes?
Sorry, I had to step away.
That's okay.
So Dave Gordon, last time you mentioned to us, the business about the building and the easement, and the conservation easement. there was an agreement that there'd be no building in it, but that the applicant wanted to maintain the right to build it. That's out of the agreement now.
No, I'm not sure where it was. It was kind of a semantic difference that didn't mean anything. I think we,
Change the verbiage.
yeah,
make
we
it more
worked,
clear.
we worked around it. I can get the
No,
provision, but
I think the entire board said.
you know what? Yeah, you're right. I redrafted around it. I can go ahead and get you.
No, that's okay, but the intent of what the board said last time, as I recall, was, no, you can't build in the conservation easement. That's the whole purpose of conservation.
Right.
Yes.
That's what it
That's-
is.
That's a good.
Yes, we worked with that out with Rich and that's completed.
And the only other thing that I had was, took care of the, ATVs and motorcycles and everything else. The whole issue of the swimming pool, where did that come in? For the wind up? Is that in the HOA agreement or is it, we said we don't
This
want
is
it.
Mark's recommendation. There was, they're allowed to fill the pool 5% with on site.
And the rest of it has to be filled by third.
Off-site.
Okay, so that was in the
That's an
HOA.
explicit requirement.
That's in the HOA.
Yes.
Either the HOA, yes, because it can't be in the it's not the conservation area, so yeah, it's in the,
Okay.
Declaration of it, the HOA declaration.
no, it's in the Declaration of Covenants, I think. I mean, I have to check, but it's in one of the two
It's in
documents.
one of those.
It's in
Yeah.
one.
I know that horse was dead and I kept beating it, so it's done.
Right down to the word.
It's done.
Right
There was a
down to the word.
shall and I said no. Okay, Greg, I don't think we want to read this.
I mean, I think everybody's had it for
Yeah,
a while.
okay.
Like I said, that's why I just mentioned the two minor changes that were made.
Can you go over those real quick?
We're just one that I referred to our most current comment letter.
Yep.
And then the second one, I referred to the fact that the existing plan showed the septic system to be slightly over the trees that are noted to be preserved. However, is just a location approximation of where those test pits are. and
Because those
everything.
haven't been
And
done
they-
yet with Board of Health. You have not actually identified exactly the location.
Yes, so I did speak to them about that.
Okay.
We, just in general, we did a lot of test holes down in that area
Yep.
because we thought we'd have to get more development down there. So that whole area, to be conserved, is all very consistent. So our test holes, were all very much the same, but again, we had, kind of GPSed it there when we were on site, so the test hole location, and then when the surveyor actually did the tree location, but there's adequate area to shift that to
Okay.
avoid the trees and
Right, because as Greg said, we would propose that no trees, we would rather move it than take trees.
Right, and that's what
Okay.
will be on the final
Great.
plan for sure, and I know we added some language about tree preservation during construction and things like that, and not filling, not excavating, and all kinds of things.
And I think just by having it in the resolution, it clearly delineates that is been addressed.
Okay. We've already done seeker. We have this thing that we've looked at 16 times, so a motion on this? Cindy, do you?
I think I should be what makes.
I'd be happy to do that.
I make a motion.
Okay,
You accept.
okay. As presented, motion by Cindy, second by Zach, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Any abstentions? One abstain. So 4 yay, 1 Peter. One Peter. Okay, Nadine,
Well, thank you. I appreciate your time this evening.
I won't see you in May.
10 minutes.
That's the only requirement I have. I'm just kidding.
I'll be in Hawaii.
Oh, there you go. Enjoy.
My party is putting in, so,
Nice.
yeah.
Carrying on sleep on the beach.
Oh.
Can you tell Bill, is Bill Egger still, is he sleeping outside? Tell him we're ready for him.
Good to go.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Much appreciated. So you'll get me back some lighting stuff, maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks on that?
Yes.
And then, if you have questions on noise, get back to me as early as possible because the applicant might have something that they can give us. Okay. And if you need me, call. All right, G or Danny? Does Bill want me to skip up?
No, yeah, I think you fell asleep.
I would imagine.
Dinner.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. See you later. Bye.
See you soon.
Be back here for dignified.
Okay, you got it. Hey, Bill, you're back.
Yes.
Okay, 2024-06, Giordani and Bennett. The applicant representative is Bill Eggers from Redenbach and Eggers. This is a minor subdivision at 1832 Sampsonville Road. We have new maps. Bill, tell us where we left off. Tell us where we're at.
So the initial visit last time, I think the only question or concern that was brought up was where's the proposed well on the new lot?
Right, so we talked about this at our last meeting. We had it was on the county road. And we talked about the new proposal, but we had a delineated wetlands from the DEC. We had the proposed well that we needed. We didn't think that we were ready to set this for public hearing because we had some outstanding items. And it looks like Bill has accompanied all those. So that's good. We have to send this to Ulster County Planning Board. It's on a county road.
Highway department.
Yeah. Would be Ulster County, Department of Public Works. Okay, public hearing. Can I have a motion to set this the next public hearing?
I make the motion.
Zach, second Peter, all in favor? Aye, any opposed, any abstained? Okay, so Jasmine, look at the public hearing out. Bill, what else are we looking for tonight?
Besides this?
Anything else?
Well, since we're talking about public hearings.
Yep.
Can we schedule a public hearing for that Cusack Faso? Or sort of Cusack, but, not, lot line adjustment?
No, because it's a subdivision. We haven't had our initial meeting, so we can't set a public hearing.
We had an initial meeting.
No, we didn't, because the applicant has changed hands.
They withdrew the application.
That's the problem. This whole process sucks because they changed real estate owner, the deeds changed owner and owner. We have to start over.
And we did that, and we.
But you haven't met in front of us yet with this applicant. And the reason that is because at the last application, hang on, anything more on Giordani?
No.
Okay, so on the other application that we have that did not make the agenda, the reason it didn't make the agenda is because at your initial meeting, we asked you to take the original map that was approved at this board. No, you didn't. That's the problem. That's why you didn't make the agenda. We need the original map that was approved that had all the topo lines on it, all the driveway curb cuts, and the whole entire application.
Whole thing with all the septic plans and everything.
Everything.
5 sheets.
Yes.
6 sheets, whatever.
We did this with McCarthy. We're doing it the same way with yours. We need that submittal. Then you meet with us. We set the public hearing. We could do this in 2 meetings because we can get it done at the same time. But I can't set you on the agenda until we have what the last item was asked at this meeting. So when we ask you for something, I can't get you back on the agenda until you meet that requirement. You haven't done it. That's the problem. So I'm sorry, but and especially with the change of deeds, now I got a bigger problem because the original application was withdrawn, so that's thrown out. Starting all over.
We had to go and resubmit it to code enforcement.
Yes.
That had already been approved by them once. We had to go through them again.
Correct.
Because of the change in the name. So that was all done. I was under the understanding that everything was set because we'd gone through code enforcement. We had submitted the maps and I heard nothing until I got the agenda and it wasn't on there.
Correct.
Nobody told me the maps I submitted in February were not.
I told you, I sat right here and said, you're not getting on the next agenda until we get the original maps resubmitted with the new owner, and the final map is to be what's brought back. You submitted another map that was similar, but it didn't have topo on it. It didn't have all the items that we asked. I'm not going to put you on the agenda without it. So that was the reason.
So I'll give you the other 5 sheets that have nothing to do at all.
That is
this action.
That is absolutely
and
correct.
the sheet of the map that had this action on it does not have the topo on it.
If you remember correctly,
On the other page.
if you remember correctly, we asked for the final overall map that was signed at the last meeting for the original Cusack subdivision.
Right.
Brought back with the revision of the 0.3 acres moved to the shift of Faso. Bring that back and then we will start the conversation. I'm not going to do it twice. So it's going to be the right way. I'm sorry that doesn't meet the applicant's request, but that's what this board asked for.
6 months to do a line change.
And your owner changed hands. Sorry.
Yeah, the day of the meeting, when I
I-
first came in here.
I wish they would have moved it one more day. It would have been done.
Insane.
Alrighty. Next application. R. Smith Site Development at, 440, what's that?
Holiday plus.
I'm not getting a scratch off either, probably.
Definitely don't call for any engineering.
PB 2024-11, a special use permit in an industrial district, 446 Sampsonville. Mr. Smith, I don't even know why you're here. I apologize that you have to go through this whole process.
About it, I'm just trying to put
Well,
it
he's here because the code says he has.
Right, so in conversation, just to bring up the speed, in conversation with where we're at, your application and your submittal is outstanding, so thank you for that. In conversation with town board, they are going to be changing this for the future because they recognize that this is a possible opportunity that is wrong.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to have a reduced use in a district that's inflated, shouldn't require, obviously, this type of review. So we're gonna go through this with you fairly quickly. Let's get our boundaries. Can we get
I
Max?
have to recuse myself from this application from a previous financial.
Okay, so Zach's out. Thank you, Zach. I'll need you to sit in the public. Okay, so Mr. Smith.
use you, but.
So, Mr. Smith, can you just give us a 30-second synopsis of what your plans are? What do you
Yeah,
want
I just would like to put a single family house on this property that I thought I would be able to just do, and when I went to get my boil out, or my building permit, I was told I had to come here.
Right, so also we have Ulster County Department of Health is already in the file, has already been approved. We have Ulster County Public Works has already been approved and in the file. The location on the map has been done and the well has already been installed. So I have received a written waiver from Mr. Smith to waive the public hearing, which I think is a great request, so I appreciate you submitting that in writing. In conversations with Dave Church, he totally agreed with that. That requirement and waiver is definitely something that we should do as a procedural option. So why don't we do that? First thing, can I have a motion to waive the public hearing as Town Code 140-47?
Yes, I make the motion to waive the town.
Cindy, a second by Rick, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion passed 4-0. So no public hearing.
What'd you say about the county referral?
Yeah, why, they already have a driveway permit.
Nope, no county referral.
Yeah, but it says
Dave
under
was saying-
Dave's letter.
Yes, no county referral.
Okay.
I have the letter from Adam Dietz already. That's fine. Okay, so what I've done is in conjunction with Mr. Gordon, we've wrote a decision on this. Obviously, the decision is very small because there's nothing that's outstanding. So I'm going to give you those. We'll go through that real quick. First map I've seen from Mr. Post that is very well done. So thank you.
I wanna do it once.
I agree. Okay. I don't believe we need to do a,
Seeker?
do we need to do a seeker for a special use permit? I don't believe so.
No, this is type 2.
It's a type
Type 2,
2.
you're right, okay.
I think we have that, that's,
Yes,
yeah, that's in the resolution.
yep, got it.
Type 2 because it's just a simple.
Mr. Smith, here's one for you to follow along. Okay, resolution Town of Rochester Planning Board special use permit approval. This is at 446 Sampson Road in Cohasson in an industrial district. Special use permit approval. I'm not going to read all the whereas. I'm on page 2. General conditions of approval. This approval is conditioned upon the applicant submitting all necessary final copies of the plans, reports, and documents to the Town of Rochester Building Inspector. 2, this approval is further conditioned upon receiving all approvals from the other involved agencies which are not applicable. Page 3, the site plan as approved by the planning board shall be binding upon the applicant as any subsequent owner. Any changes from the approved plan shall require resubmission and reapproval to the planning board. No deviation from the plans, reports, or other documents that form the basis of this approval are effective unless and until an amendment of the resolution is secured by the planning board in writing. The town may stop work on this project and or revoke a building permit and or withhold a certificate of occupancy and or seek any other additional relief as authorized by law if any term of condition of this resolution is violated. If no construction or other site improvement have been initiated at the site during the 12-month period following today's approval, the approved plan shall require resubmission and reapproval by the planning board unless planning board has shall have granted an extension in writing and provided the applicant has diligently pursued the implementation of plans. Absent such an extension, the site plan approval and special use shall be deemed as expired. So you have a year to build this. If the special use has been discontinued for a period of 2 or more years, it shall be deemed to have lapsed without hearing or notice. A special use permit shall be deemed to authorize only the special use or uses specified in an approval resolution. Number 6, all fees that are outstanding, which we will have fees that are going to come from Mr. Gordon and or Mr. Church, we will get you those fees prior to the maps being signed, and no building permit may be issued until those fees have been paid. Any bond necessary for the performance of the work shall be in such form and in such amounts as required. There's no bonds in this project. Effective approval. This special use and site plan approval and associated conditions shall be binding upon the applicant and all successive owners. For 2, this approval shall remain effective as an authorization to secure the required permits and establish the use for a maximum of 1 year from the planning board approval. So all that in layman's terms means that 3 things are going to happen. 1, you're going to wait till we get the invoices from these 2 guys in order for me to sign this approval and the map. What your homework to do is to get 3 copies for special use or 5? Yeah, but final map. 3 final copies from John Post that states on their final map. And then you and I have to both sign them when we make sure all the fees are paid. And then from there, you'll take all those items to the building department and then you can pull your building permit. So we need to vote on that. I have a motion. A motion from Rick.
Oh, second.
Cindy, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstention? That's it. Thank you.
Was the waiver also
You can leave.
unanimous?
You're all set.
Was the waiver unanimous?
Yes.
Okay, because it's written into the resolution.
I have that. Yep. You do nothing until you hear from her when the bill's ready. Yeah, you gotta get maps from Mr. Post, which we can work with Jasmine if you need help on.
Print them or?
You need, yeah, you just need 3 copies of them, and it specifically will state in the bottom corner, final map. Okay?
Thanks.
Alrighty, thank you. Okay, in other matters, moving forward, we had a referral, skipping to, Zach, can you unrecuse your? Thank you. Okay, we need to approve March 11th minutes. Has everybody had the opportunity to take a look at those? It looked very nice. Thank you,
I'll make
Jasmine.
a motion to approve the motion.
Motion by Zach, second by Cindy. All in favor of the minutes? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstention? Okay, local law D. We need to talk about local law D. So local law D is loaded in the town folder under number 9, town board items. This is a referral from the town board on a zoning district change in the hamlet of Kerhonkson. It is at the corner of 209 and Sampsonville Road. If you remember correctly, originally, this site was used for many different things in its past. And the applicant, the owner, is proposing to change this district from industrial to hamlet. The reason that it was originally zoned industrial is because when the industrial park was approved in the late 90s off of Old Mine Road, where Barrett and Trumbore is now, they utilized this property as industrial to have access to get back there. Ever since then, the road has been shut off. That industrial district is not going through. And now the owner applicant would like to see this in a hamlet district to further utilize it as a future opportunities down the road. We don't know what their opportunities are, but regardless of what that zoning district is, they're going to have to come in front of the planning board. So
this is the parcel with I'm sorry to have a barbecue where.
they've had a barbecue there. They've had shed sales. They've had a yard sale.
Right now, there's a camper with some guy living there.
Yeah. So these things are where we're at right now. The only comment that I have based on this is, what's wrong?
He doesn't like it anymore. It's moved.
Okay. The only comment that I
was there.
The only comment that I have on this local law is that if any outstanding violations exist, that those violations be taken care of, fees paid prior to the zoning district change, because I don't want to take old outstanding violations and transfer it into a new zoning district. Just because the zoning district changes doesn't mean that your violations don't just go away. So,
agree.
that was my only recommendation.
Is there any use of this property?
Say again?
Is there use of this property for any industrial use?
No, it was proposed that it was gonna be when the industrial park went through, but it really should have been changed a long time ago, because that road got shut off in the early 2000s and it's been sitting vacant ever since. So I hope it comes of something and I hope they come before us, but, right now, there's not a whole lot of use that they could do there, so. Any other comments? I'll type a quick one sentence, to the town board on our findings, if there aren't any. Rick, Zach?
No.
No?
That's fine.
Cindy? Okay. Peter, good? Okay.
Well, one question, the road is not gonna continue through, right?
The road has already been shut off.
It's been shut up, and they're not gonna reopen.
They can't. So the lot, the road where it actually shut off is owned by someone else. So you can't get through there unless that owner consents it. That was done a long time ago.
And
Okay.
the access is gonna be.
The access would still be on Samsonville Road. It can't access off 209, the steep slopes are through there. So you have to make the turn and then come in, but anything that they propose to do there, they gotta come in front of us. So I anticipate we're gonna be seeing.
Yep.
Okay, annual training hours
Oh, the other
requirement,
reason is because there is access off of a different road. It's the same as the project on the corner. of
that's
Queen.
correct. It's access off of Old Queen,
Even if 209 wasn't sloped, they couldn't use 209.
because it has access off of Old Mine and off Samson.
Okay.
Annual training requirements, it's your responsibility. We're gonna get Dave back. We just haven't set a date for that. Dave, do we know when Emily is readily available? I'd like to do it at a summer meeting in a workshop. I just don't know.
I'll ask her, but, I may end up just doing the whole thing myself.
Okay, that's fine. Okay. So we'll get to there. If not, we have hours that we need to do, but we have 8 months to do. Workshop meeting, I have nothing as proposed, but I will say, we do have a lot of things that are coming, but I have nothing that is in front of us yet, but I have heard from the building department and applicants that are making applications. There are things coming, so prepare for a busy summer, but as of right now, I need a motion to cancel the workshop meeting for April.
I'll make a motion to cancel the people workshop meeting.
Zach?
Second that motion.
Zach and Cindy, you guys are on a roll. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. And a motion to adjourn, it's 8:57. Zach,
Second that motion.
Cindy, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? See you in May.
That meeting was canceled, was the 29th, correct?
Yes, sir.